Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me for the evening live stream of the Goldie Show. Hopefully, we've dealt with the internet connectivity issues that we were having yesterday. I think we're all good. Everything seems to be going pretty well. So let's just hope that this continues. Um, so I have a very interesting video that I want to share with all of you tonight. First of all, big shout out to the subscribers, the members, and of course the mods on YouTube. Thank you for being here and joining me. A lot of you have asked me to talk about religion specifically, and it's not really something that I do because my focus is more on Islamic terrorism and Islamic radicalism and, of course, fundamentalism and Middle Eastern politics. But a lot of you have um, asked me about it. So I actually found a very interesting podcast by Patrick Bet David, and he aired this about 3 weeks ago. And he had a very interesting conversation with someone named Sam Shamoun. So I just want to read who Sam Shamoun is, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to watch that podcast together. And then, we can have a conversation about it in the live stream. I will give my thoughts here and there, but this is more of an exploratory video, and it's more just to give you guys an understanding, um not coming from me but coming from people who are much more informed when it comes to the theological side of the debate, because again my focus is politics and Islamic terrorism. So, who is Sam Shamoun? Sam Shamoun is a prominent Christian apologist and theologian of Assyrian descent, widely known for his extensive work in Christian Muslim interfaith debates and writings. He operates primarily through the website Answering Islam and his popular YouTube channel, Shamounian. Um, right off the top, the fact that he is an Assyrian, this guy's like the OG because like I've actually spoken about Assyrians in my short video clips before. If you've ever seen my Iranian here with another pro tip, video clip, I talk about various aspects of the Middle East, and I have actually spoken about Assyrians and how they are one of the most persecuted communities in the Middle East by Islamic fundamentals and Islamic terrorists. So, like Assyrian Christians, they're literally like the OG Christians. So I just want to put it out there. Key details. Focus. Shamoun's work largely concentrates on critically evaluating Islamic claims and defending Christian doctrines like the divinity of Jesus and the Trinity. He's a frequent participant in debates and discussions with Muslim polemicists. Background. Originally from an Assyrian Church of the East background and a former Calvinist apologist, Shamoun has recently identified as a Roman Catholic and attends Catholic Mass. Style. He is known for a confrontational, fiery, and direct style in his apologetics, which has generated both significant admiration and controversy within religious communities. But I mean, let's be honest, when you're part of a community that's been persecuted for the last 1400 years, yeah, I can understand why you would want to be fiery and direct in your style. Content. His articles and videos cover various topics, including refutations of objections against the deity of Jesus, analysis of the Quran and Hadith to challenge Islamic theological positions, Bible studies assigned to help Christians understand scripture better, and respond to arguments from other religious groups. All right. So there's a little background on Sam Shamoun. Now, let's go to the actual podcast itself. So, the podcast is available, of course, on PBD's channel, and it's titled Muslims Will Be Offended. Sam Shamoun reveals Quran and Prophet Muhammad contradictions. And the description goes Christian apologist Sam Shamoun joins Patrick Bet David for a bold talk on faith, courage, and conviction. From debating Islam to defending the Bible, Sam shares his mission, trials, and belief that the truth must be spoken no matter the cost. A raw and fearless conversation about faith in action. All right, with that, let's get going. I'm interested to see what he has to say as well. And don't forget to like and share the YouTube live stream.
If we all believe the same thing, we'd be the same religion. According to the New Testament, it's going to hurt people. Muhammad is an antichrist. There are many antichrists who come into the world. I know Muslims will get offended, but it is what it is.
What happened with you and Jenko?
Give him some time. There was a misunderstanding. That's fine.
Okay. Have you guys spoken since or no?
Go find people where they're at, invite them to Islam, and if they accept, they're safe. If not, take the jizya from them, and if not, kill them until the victor goes the spoils.
How do you go where you were at to now being able to sit down against any Muslim pretty much and have a strong debate with them?
Most Muslims are shocked to hear when I say, oh, Hazrat Aisha, did you know she was 9 when Muhammad deflowered her? You're a liar. You're lying. Can you tell me how to invite Jesus? She thought I was crazy. What are you talking about? But I remember crying out to him. And I said, Jesus, I don't know how to invite you in, but I want you in my life. I'm not supposed to cry. I'm Jiru.
There's something very different about you that you're a complicated human being.
So, I mean, so far, just from the clips that I heard, nothing he said was incorrect.
30 seconds. Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could take sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. Right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right. I don't think I've ever said this before.
Okay, we have a special guest in the house. It's very rare you will get 3 Assyrians in the room doing a podcast, but we're pulling it off today. We have Vincent Oshana. Yeah. Obviously, we know Mr. Hanson, the Assyrian Al Pacino looking Vinny, and then we have the great Sam Shamoun in the house.
Shalom aleichem. By the way, just for the people to know, just like you have 12 tribes of Israel, we have many tribes of Assyria. And each tribe has a clan. So I'm from the Jilu tribe. If you do a little history about us, we're known as the warrior tribe. Even we speak like warriors. Agamini, Itamarnanu, Shmalu. So the Jilus are now going to be rejoicing now that I spoke. They're happy.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
First time I was turned on by your content was an old friend of ours, Marvin. He says, you got to watch this guy. And I'm like, this guy's incredible, so capable, talented. And then obviously we invited you to have you on a podcast. Yeah. And then eventually we were able to get you to be here. And I'm happy we're finally doing this.
Well, glory to the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. I always ask the Spirit to fill me, to help me, to point people to Christ and not bring attention to any of us, because there's a danger among not just politics or even in celebrity figures, even in the apologetic realm, of what I call cult of personality, where you are drawn to a person and you idolize them. And so by the grace of God in this field, there can be no idols. So it cannot be about me and how great I am. And because we are all struggling in the flesh, sometimes our ego loves to be praised. And I have to check that, right? So glory to Jesus Christ for the gifts he's given me. But I pray in this session, I disappear and Jesus shines through me, and that through this message, everyone will be filled with the Spirit to know that Christ is the only hope of salvation. And he has to be the king of every sphere of our life, not just religiously, but politically.
Sam, if somebody goes and searches you and they type in your name and they go to views, It's you and Muslims back and forth.
Yeah.
Let's play one of them. Rob. Play the other one. Play this one here first.
Well, that was my first public debate.
Is this your first public debate? So this is your first public debate. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. Ooh.
A woman can be beaten according to the glorious Quran. Now, do you want to get into a long discussion as to what is the position of women in the Quran and the Bible? I mean, we can do that. The book of Revelation, chapter 14, verses 4 and 5, shows that women will not enter paradise.
He talks about Revelation 14. That doesn't work. Read the context. It's speaking of 144,000 of Israel who were specifically chosen for a task. After mentioning the 144,000, this is what you conveniently forgot. Revelation 7, verse 9, I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne in front of the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands, and they cried out in a loud voice, "Salvation belongs to our God."
Yeah, this is why I'd never debate religion itself, because this is way beyond me. Like when it gets into the depths of these sorts of things, this is why my focus is more on um Islamic terrorism and the ideology that promotes, Islamic terrorism. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is interesting, but yeah, this is getting way into the theological um debate stuff, which is just, a whole other level. But I mean, I can see how it's sort of, I mean, in a way, it is related to Islamic terrorism, because there are certain parts of the Quran um, which do promote terrorism. So you have to be very frank and honest about that. But I don't get into the nitty gritty. I just focus more on the practical day to day stuff. But yeah, let's continue. This guy seems like he definitely knows his stuff.
Our God, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. That's the context. Do not misquote my scripture.
Oh, so I mean, this is where a lot of the stuff out there for you. But what I want to do is, before we go in here, I just want to learn about you. I want to know your story. So walk me through how you go where you were at to now being able to sit down against any Muslim pretty much and have a strong debate with them. How did that happen?
By the way, this debate, I had just stopped bodybuilding. Just to give you a little background, I come from a family of bodybuilders. So in the 90s, I used to train. So when I see some of your handsome, muscular staff, I start getting envy. And, envy's a sin. But yeah, I was just looking at myself. Even though I stopped bodybuilding, I didn't stop eating as if I was a bodybuilder. But to give you a little background, I was born in Kuwait, 1972, came to Chicago in 1974. So pretty much I've been raised in America, a Chicagoan, don't know much about the Middle East. Though our parents are Christian, if you're from an Assyrian background, they'll either be typically part of the Assyrian Church of the East, or in the case if you come from Iran specifically, they'll either be Presbyterian, because we had a lot of missionaries that came to the Middle East and converted the Assyrians to, let's say, Presbyterianism. But historically, the church of the Assyrians is in the West called the Nestorian Church. Now, why do they call us Nestorian?
Yeah, interesting that he mentioned Iran. I'm actually kind of glad he did. Patrick Bet David himself is an Assyrian Iranian, and he's Christian as well. He was born in Iran and left Iran at the age of 8 with his parents.
Historians, it's not a compliment, and I want to boggle you down with the details, but there was a bishop in the 5th century named Bishop Nestorius who was accused of teaching that there are two persons in Christ, that he's a divine person, human person, and that's blasphemy. And so the Assyrians have been labeled Nestorian, but it's not a compliment. It's meant to ostracize the Assyrian church, because the Bible teaches and the church teaches Christ is one person. He's an eternal, uncreated, divine person who became flesh from the Holy Virgin. So to say he's two persons is blasphemy. So they were accused of holding to the two-person theory of Christ, which is not true. So that's my background. And I don't know if you come from that background. Typically, if you're from that background, you'll be baptized as an infant. But even Presbyterians baptize infants, but for a different reason. So not to bog you with the details, in the Assyrian church, water baptism is the means by which the Spirit comes on you, makes you one with Christ, so that you're already part of Christ's body. So he regenerates you. He makes you alive, unites you to Christ. Presbyterians believe that water baptism is the sign that makes you a member of the covenant community, the new covenant of Jesus Christ, but it doesn't regenerate you. It doesn't make you one with Christ. That's something you must do later on. So there are some differences. So I was baptized Assyrian Church of the East, but my parents never told me about Christianity. I didn't learn about Christianity from my parents. Never told me who Jesus was, what the Bible is. I remember going
You didn't
to
go
church.
to church.
Well, they would take me to church, but I didn't know what we're doing. Like once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, Christmas. I had no idea, none whatsoever. But my introduction to Christianity came from a 9-year-old Assyrian boy named Raymond Malco from Lebanon. He preached to me the gospel of Jesus Christ.
In Chicago.
Yep, at 9. He was 9 years old.
I think you mentioned how old were you?
6.5.
Oh, he's 9, you're 6.5.
Yes. His grandmother was a godly, saintly woman. She was from a Catholic background, but his uncles on his mother's side, they were taught Baptist theology. So if you're familiar with what they call the independent fundamental, see, I'm giving you too many denominations, but it is what it is. There are a lot of denominations. And the independent fundamental Baptist denomination believe that you have to go soul winning, win souls for Christ. So you got to go knock on doors and lead them into the sinner's prayer. So his uncles taught him that theology. So he would go soul winning. So he found this soul. And for the first couple of weeks, I just ignored him. I thought he was crazy. But then one day he got my attention because he said, Jesus Christ. And I'm giving you the gist. Remember, I'm the 6.5, I'm 53. And it's kind of sad. You guys are younger than me. That's scaring me. And better looking and healthier. Lord, I pray for that glorified body sooner than later. So he told me Jesus Christ is the Son of God. See, if I talk about the story, I get a little emotional. And he told me that he loved me so much, he died for me. That rocked me at 6.5. To know someone would love me that much to die for me. So he taught me the sinner's prayer. The sinner's prayer is, you say, Lord Jesus, I'm a sinner, come into my heart. Now, being a kid, I thought I had to recite that prayer word for word because we take everything literally, right? And he told me do it at night. So I took him literally. I had to wait till night. So I was afraid I was going to forget the prayer and I kept reciting it. And night came and I forgot it. But I remember that night and I remember that I was in tears. My mom was next to me and I told her, I remember waking her up saying, can you tell me how to invite Jesus? She thought I was crazy. What are you talking about? But I remember crying out to him, and I said, Jesus, I don't know how to invite you in, but I want you in my life. So 6.5. He would do street evangelism. There are people from the neighborhood, Chicago, Foster, and Clark Street. There are people who are listening who are going to remember this. He actually would lead.
You can tell how strong his faith is because he's literally getting emotional sharing this childhood story of his. Like you can just hear the passion in his voice.
Me, and he would preach and we'd gather crowds, a 9-year-old, because it's shocking. I mean, a 9-year-old, and he'd preach fire and brimstone and hell. And I was just a sidekick. I didn't know anything. Now you fast forward, he had to relocate and I lost my elder brother because he was the one who held me accountable. Sadly, my teenage years, things happened, broken family, dad left. I was very close to my uncle and he died of cancer in I believe it was 1982. So he was closer to me than my father. So I just gave up on everything and I started doing things I shouldn't have done. Teenage, you go into drinking and, things that we're not proud of. But I had a huge emptiness in my heart because I've always suffered with 2 things in my life. And these are symptoms of pride. If you actually break it down, symptoms of pride. But nonetheless, I suffered from low self-esteem and body dysmorphia, which is still 2 demons that I have to slay till this day. And because I had this low self-esteem and really, really just body shamed myself, I felt more depressed. So I thought the solution would be bodybuilding. Why? Because my older brother started bodybuilding. And if you know about bodybuilding, you probably have heard of Sergio Olivia.
Of course.
He was a Chicago cop, but he also had a gym.
He's got a son as well right now that competes.
his
Incredible physique. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
His son makes
He was
his
known
father.
for one of the greatest poses of all time.
Yeah.
If you go to images, Sergio Olivia, his forearms, he does this pose.
right there.
The fourth picture. That one right there.
Jeez.
Look at that.
You should see his son.
That's crazy.
Makes his father look like nothing.
Can you pull up his son's picture as well? His son is, Vinny, you won't even believe it.
Look at his son.
That's his,
Look at that. That's his son to the right. Oh my goodness.
oh my damn.
Wow.
These guys are
He blows us.
Incredible, yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I'm
it's
telling
crazy.
you,
So Chicago,
man. So I said, maybe, you know what? Let me try bodybuilding. Now, another thing is one of the biggest influences on my life wasn't a religious figure, it was Bruce Lee. I still love Bruce Lee. I just can't get over this guy. And when I hear people saying, oh, he was an actor, it's just like gets me angry. What are you talking about, man? In a street fight, I'll gouge your eyes out, you know.
Yeah.
The myth of Bruce Lee. So I thought in my very sick mind, maybe I can get into kickboxing and bodybuilding and become the
My gosh,
first Assyrian movie star.
talking
Hey,
too
if
much.
Bruce Lee did it, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm getting bored by this. Like, can we just get to? Oh wow, his origin story is like 24 minutes. Okay, I'm just gonna skip ahead.
Life. So clearly, the Jesus of history is not
Okay, let's.
life.
All right,
John
let's
5
go,
is gonna
let's start
open
from
up.
here.
Now, remember what Allah is. It said of Allah, He's the truth. He gives life,
Yes.
and then the hour is coming
Mm-hmm.
where He will raise
Sounds
the dead.
familiar.
Hold on here. John 5:21. Watch here. Let's go here. 21. Now watch.
Right in the middle.
For just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son gives life to whom He is pleased to give it. So Father and Son both give life. But in 25, if you watch verse 25, verily, truly I tell you. Now, this translation, NIV, says a time. The little translation is an hour is coming. If you read it, it's an hour because NIV is more of a paraphrase. So some Bibles do not translate literally because in translating literally, you lose meaning. So they have to paraphrase. So this is a paraphrase. In fact, we Assyrians can relate. If I say, "Atma brishuch," if you translate in English and say, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how it is with
Yeah.
languages. So sometimes you can't translate literally. You got to translate meaning. But literally it says, very truly I tell you, an hour is coming and has now come when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, not Allah. The Son of God, and those who hear will live. Now, 28:29 says something amazing because the Quran says, the hour is coming, have no doubt about it. Well, Allah will raise them from their graves. But who does that according to our Bible? Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear His voice and come out. Whose voice? The Son of God. So if I were to compare what Jesus says of Himself with what was said about Allah, clearly Jesus claimed to be God because the things Jesus says is ascribed to the Islamic deity, not to a prophet. So a prophet cannot speak this way if Islam is true. So what did they tell you? Your Bible's corrupt. Another passage, John, you brought it up, John 14:6, right? We read that. I'm sorry. Notice there He says, I am the way and the truth, one of the names of Allah, and the life. So clearly the Jesus of history is not Isa. He did not announce coming Muhammad. So from a Christian perspective, as offensive as it may be, facts are facts. If we all believe the same thing, we'd be the same religion. According to the New Testament, it's going to hurt people. Muhammad is an antichrist. That's the New Testament teaching. Because what is the criteria for
Did he just say what I thought he said? Wow. Okay.
an antichrist? 1 John chapter 2, 22 to 23 tells you. Who is the antichrist? He who denies the Father and the Son. Islam says Allah is not a father, and Jesus is definitely not His son. In fact, in chapter 9 of the Quran, verse 30, you know what it says? And the Jews say, Uzair is the son of Allah. To this day, scholars are baffled. Who is this Uzair? And what Jew said it? Now, some translations will tell you that Uzair is Ezra, the prophet, but the context is the call to jihad. A lot of people don't know that one of the last chapters before Muhammad died. Now, again, we're basing this on
So just want to point this out, right? Like a lot of the Islamic terrorists will try to claim that jihad is just like internal struggle, and no, jihad is just like an internal personal struggle. No, jihad is literally a call for Islamic terrorism. It's a call for engaging in a holy war for Allah. And jihad is literally mentioned in the Quran. So I'm glad that he's actually bringing this part up and talking about this part here, because a lot of the radical Islamists don't want non-Muslims to know that the Quran itself specifically talks about jihad, which is waging a holy war. And, that's why you see all these Islamic terrorist groups, yelling Allahu Akbar before they blow themselves up or before they, cut the heads off of infidels.
On the Muslim sources, there are people who question the Muslim sources. They say, well, because
Muslims.
they're not in Muslim countries, they can't. But you'll have Muslim academics who will tell you, these are later traditions, they're embellished. And not all Muslims believe in what they call the hadith. Now, the largest group of Muslims identify as Sunni. In fact, you had two of them debating when they were here. They would be Sunni Muslims. One of them was a Salafi. So though they are Sunni,
Daniel or
Jacob, what was his name?
Daniel
The other guy, Jake.
Hakikaju.
Daniel
Jacob.
Hakikachu and Jake Brankatala.
Yeah.
Jake, I don't know if it's short for Jacob. Now, he's a Salafi. There are differences among them. And though they belong, and again, I'm not saying these differences prove Islam is false, because we got differences among Christians, right? I mean, fair is fair. Islam is not monolithic, neither is Christianity, right? There are flavors of Christianity. But point being, the largest group of Muslims would identify as Sunni. But in that Sunni branch, you have people called Salafis. They have a view of Allah that the other Sunnis do not share. We can get into that. But so not all Muslims believe in the hadith. Though it's the largest sect, they would follow what they call the hadith or the sunnah. You have Shia. They have their own traditions. They don't accept, in fact, if you come from Iran, it's a Shia majority, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Ayatollah, yeah. So they would not accept the traditions of Daniel Hakikachu. So when they quote Bukhari, they reject it. They go, we don't follow Bukhari. We have, Kafi, Quran. They have their own traditions. And then there are a group of Muslims who only follow the Quran. They're called Quran-only Muslims. So just like Christianity, you have a variety. So if I'm dealing with a Muslim, I first ask them, what are you? So I can know how to address them. I can't address them the same because, you debate Muslims, well, I don't accept the hadith. I don't care what Bukhari says. I don't care what Muslim says. So I have to now stick with the Quran and show them why there are holes in the narrative. And the point I'm getting at is that in Islamic theology, specifically Sunni, there are certain attributes, names of Allah, that no creature can ascribe to themselves. Some of the names I just showed you, but Jesus ascribed to himself. So now we got a problem. In chapter 9 of the Quran, according to the Sunni tradition, this is one of the last chapters Muhammad gave before he died. These are his final marching orders. And in his final marching orders, if you want to look at it, chapter 9, it starts at 28 all the way to 33. This is, again, according to the Sunni narrative. Now, if you accept the Sunni narrative, then this is one of the last surahs. But if you are one of those Muslims who say, no, these are just later embellishments, well, then you have a hard time because you can't situate the Quran. How do you know when the Quran was written? It doesn't tell you. It doesn't even give you a chronology. For example, if you go to Sunni tradition, there are two periods in the compilation of the Quran. There's what's called the Meccan period and the Medinan period. Mecki, Madani. Again, based on the Islamic narrative, for the first 13 years, Muhammad preached in Mecca. The tone of those chapters that are attributed to that period, very different.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what he's going to say here. So basically these two periods, the first 13 years, it was much more peaceful. And I think, Muhammad was only able to convert, I don't know, like 100 people or something to Islam. And then after the 13 years, he decided to make it more violent, I guess, and focus more on conquest and raiding and whatever. And then as soon as he did that, that's when more people started converting to Islam. So those are the two periods.
To you be your religion, to me my religion, because he's outnumbered. He doesn't have control.
Yeah, let me go back here. Where was that?
There's what's called the Meccan period and the Medinan period. Mecki, Madani. Again, based on the Islamic narrative, for the first 13 years, Muhammad preached in Mecca. The tone of those chapters that are attributed to that period, very different. To you be your religion, to me my religion, because he's outnumbered. He doesn't have control. And if he does try to make an attack, they'll squash him. So when you read those chapters from that period, if we take the traditional Sunni narrative, very tolerant. Like, well, let's get along. Okay, hey, you don't believe my religion? That's fine. To you, your religion, to me, my religion. That's like chapter 109 of the Quran says it. To you, your religion, to me, my religion. That's what they'll often quote. But they quote in the context when they're outnumbered. Then you have what's called the Medinan period, the period where he now goes to Medina and he becomes head of state. The tone changes. It goes from, to you, your religion, to me, my religion. Then you enter Medina. Okay, now, since they oppressed you, you can fight back. Self-defense. Then the final stage is chapter 9. Now he's amassed a large number of soldiers, according to the narrative, right? One of the greatest scholars, in my opinion, questioning the narrative, you had him. He debated, Robert Spencer. If you want what I consider to be one of the most knowledgeable Christians on the historical Muhammad, as well as political Islam, you won't get any better than Robert Spencer. So if you ever want to talk,
if you guys don't follow Robert Spencer on X, you definitely need to do that. Let me find his profile for you. This guy is like, he calls it out for what it is, and once in a while he'll like retweet one of my posts, or he'll like put a comment under one of my posts, and he's always been like, yeah, I agree with her, like she knows what she's talking about. So yeah, let me find Robert Spencer's profile here. Let me search it up here. And what I'll do is I'll find some videos by Robert Spencer, because Robert Spencer, he focuses more on the like Islamic terrorism side of things. So here's his profile on X if you don't follow him. Robert Spencer, Jihad Watch, 32 books, The History of Jihad, The Critical Quran, Muhammad, A Critical Biography, The Palestinian Delusion, holy hell. And he's got a website called jihadwatch.org. So you definitely want to make sure that you're following him. And I'm going to make sure to find some videos or interviews with him, because, his focus is going to be more on the political side of things.
right?
Interesting, because he gets a lot of hate, and he's got a lot of controversy behind him. I mean, when I announced that I'm bringing him, they were.
I mean, let's be honest. Anyone who speaks out against Islamic radicalism and terrorism has controversy. I'm technically a controversial figure as well. So, I mean, that's nothing new at this point.
Furious about bringing Robert Spencer.
Exactly. He's my estimation. You know how people say this guy's the best, and that's an ego thing. May God crush our pride. But my estimation, I don't think there's someone more knowledgeable in political Islam and historical Muhammad than Robert Spencer from a Christian perspective.
Interesting.
He would be part of if you ever get an A team, he'd be part of it. Now, I mention him only because he would question these sources. But if you're a Sunni, because now my audience is now the Sunni Muslim, like whoever it is, if it's Daniel, according to the tradition, chapter 9, one of the final marching orders, he's amassed a large number of soldiers. Now he's telling them, go and expand Islam. It's no longer defend yourself. It's now go and expand Islam politically, economically, socially. That's the context of chapter 9, 28 to 33. But now notice, Muhammad has to give them a pretext to attack. Okay, why are we attacking these people? You're going to see it doesn't say because they threatened you. This is the...
Sorry, someone said it's not Roger Spencer, Robert Spencer. Here's his profile again. So just look Robert Spencer. His X hashtag is Jihad Watch RS. So there you go. That's where you can find Robert Spencer.
The Islamic narrative. It's because they believe differently from you. Right there, black and white. You're going to see it. So they don't think I'm lying. And if they want to get the commentators, Ibn Kathir, we're going to have a field day, brother. They can't tell me it doesn't mean this. Wait, what did Ibn Kathir or Qurtubi say? Right? But here, chapter 9, 28 to 33, we're going to read it. Oh, you have believed. Now, this translation says polytheist, but the term mushrikun, mushrikeen, it's much more broad than simply a polytheist. The term comes from shirk. What is shirk? According to the Quran, shirk is the one sin Allah will never forgive. But what is that? When you claim there are multiple divinities, or Allah shares his glory or attributes or sovereignty with a creature, or God has a son, you fall under that category. So according to Islam, all of you are shirkers. You're a mushrik, whether you like it or not. Why? Because if they ask you, do you believe Jesus is God's son? Mushrik. You believe Jesus is God's son? Mushrik. You believe he's Lord? Mushrik. Now the Quran says to fight you. And to the victor goes the spoils, or you pay what's called jizya. We're going to get there. So, oh, you believe, or have believed, indeed the polytheists are unclean, so let them not approach al-Masjid al-Haram. Now, without the traditions, you have no idea where this is. It's a tradition that tells you this is the Kaaba in Mecca. But if you just went with this, you'll have no idea where this is. What the heck is Masjid al-Haram? But this means Mecca, the Kaaba. Don't let them approach after this, their final year. What year? See, without the Islamic narrative, you don't even know what year this is.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2 years before the death of Muhammad, right? But I can't tell. I mean, what year, buddy? Doesn't tell me. And if you fear poverty, now why is it saying fear poverty? The Islamic narrative says that they would make pilgrimages, to this day the Muslims do it, to circumambulate the Kaaba 7 times, run between the 2 hills, Safa and Marwa 7 times, throw 7 stones at Satan, which they claim was instituted by Abraham, but there's no evidence for that. These were pagan practices. So when the people would come, they'd barter, they would sell, they would trade. So it's saying, well, if you fear by banishing them, you're going to lose money, don't worry. Allah will enrich you from his bounty if he wills. It's if he wills. We say inshallah, but here it's, if he wills. Now, how will he enrich you? This is the question I want you to see. By having you fight the infidels and taking jizya from them. That's verse 29. It says it right there. Fight those who do not believe in Allah. Does it say fight those who threaten you? Fight those who attacked you? Fight those who want to take your land? No. Fight those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day. Well, I don't believe in the Allah of Islam. Now, I know people say, well, it's just a name. That's not my debate. I have no problem using the term Allah. The Allah of the Quran is not the God of the Bible.
So different gods.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But now you have to qualify that. Do you think the average Muslim even knows the differences?
Probably not.
Absolutely not. They don't. They're told that this God is a God of Abraham. They're told Jesus is a mighty messenger. So you have to distinguish between what the sources say and the person. Because if I interview an average Christian, how many of them know what the Trinity is?
I mean, the one thing that I can say is that Iranians in occupied Iran are very familiar with the Quran because they are forced to study it, regardless of whether or not they're Muslim, because Iran is occupied by an Islamic dictatorship. And so the one thing that's happened, the only thing that the Islamic Republic has accomplished in the last 47 years is turning off the vast majority of Iranians from Islam. So prior to 1979, a lot of Iranians were, like secular Muslims, and they just lived their normal lives and was very Western and progressive, and they said they were Muslim, but never really really read the Quran or anything. But since the Islamic dictatorship took over, and they basically forced everyone to study and read the Quran, I would say, like, right now, probably less than, um, I would say at most maybe 20% of Iranians are actually identifying as Muslim. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Iranians um, were forced to study the Quran, and they just didn't like what it had to say. And that's on top of course, living in an Islamic dictatorship and being governed by Sharia law.
How many know that Jesus is the God-man, that you must believe he's God and man? If I ask Christians, is Jesus a man in heaven or a spirit? I've done that. They'll say he's a spirit. No, he's not. The Bible says he's a glorified man in heaven with a glorified physical body of flesh. And he's going to come back in the flesh. So how many Christians know that they're supposed to believe that? You'd be surprised. Ask Christians, say,
I understand.
Yeah. So here, if you don't have the same idea of Allah they do, That's pretext to fight you.
And Sam, not to cut you off, when you say fight, is that fight to kill?
No, it's UFC.
Okay. I want to make that clear that you're saying fight. Fight should be, they're trying to kill you.
UFC championship belt.
Okay,
What's wrong with you?
Okay, my bad.
See, that's that Assyrian in you, bro.
Yeah,
So,
okay. All right,
so,
please continue.
So, and the last day now, real quickly, let me describe Islamic last day, because I want to show the audience who don't know Islam how graphic this is. The last day in Islam means if you pass the test, you will enter Jannah, you'll enter paradise. You have maidens of pleasure, Hur al-Ain. I can give you even a reference, very graphic, chapter 78, 31, 33. It says that they have swelling breasts that don't sag. And the Quran says you'll spend all eternity deflowering them, but you won't harm them, and they'll return. When I say Quran says you will have sex with them, but the hadiths go graphic. You will be deflowering them, but you won't hurt them. They'll return virginal again. So this is the pleasures of paradise. And you're going to have wine, and you're going to have milk, and you're going to have, meat and young boys.
Basically, oh my gosh, I think he was about to say young boys. That's insane. Basically, everything that is banned right now is like permissible and provided in heaven. But yeah, like it is kind of messed up that they talk about, in the Quran, it talks about having sex with virgins, and the virgins never lose their virginity. It's very, very weird. I'm not gonna lie.
I say Quran says you will have sex with them, but the hadiths go graphic. You will be deflowering them, but you won't hurt them. They'll return virginal again. So this is the pleasures of paradise. And you're going to have wine, and you're going to have milk, and you're going to...
By the way, this is just for the men. Muslim women don't get 72 virgin men. Muslim women just continue being the wives of their husbands in heaven, along with the 72 other virgins. Yeah.
You're going to have, meat and young boys serving you. Youths of perpetual freshness. Now, why the hell do I need a young boy in paradise to serve me? Well, things to make you go, But that's the last day. Oh, you brought it up, huh? See, full-breasted.
Companions of equal age.
Yeah, so that means you don't need breast implants in paradise.
You're good
free
to
of charge, yeah.
Perfect.
It's impressive.
You see why they love us, don't you? Yeah, man,
It's impressive.
When we come here, go back to 30, up to 30. So now, why should you fight them? I'm sorry, 29. Fight those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day, who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful. So if you don't accept Muhammad's restrictions, like don't eat pig meat, grounds to fight you. Am I making it up? It's right there. Why do you fight them? Who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful. So what you do not forbid and Muhammad has forbidden, you are now an enemy and need to be brought into submission, and who do not adopt the religion of truth. Now, guess what that religion is? Buddhism? It's Islam. So if you do not accept Islam, what must they do? Fight you? Even those who are given the scripture, meaning even if they're Jews and Christians. Many people may not know this, but those who are in the field will know. One of the titles given to Jews and Christians is Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the book. Why? Because the Quran assumes the same God that gave the Quran gave the scriptures to the Jews and Christians. Because it says he's the God of Abraham, right? And it says this is the religion of Abraham.
So part of the reason that you're seeing a lot of these radical Islamists who immigrate to Western countries and then they want to like bring Sharia law with them and impose like Islamic doctrine, and they get offended when others, don't follow Sharia law, is basically because of this. Like they have this ingrained belief that it is their religious duty to promote Sharia law and convert everyone to like Islam. Like I'm speaking about the radicals, right?
So even if you're a Jew or Christian, but you deny Muhammad, or Allah said to the Muslims, fight them until they pay jizya. Why? Willingly, while they are humbled, as a sign of your humiliation. That's how Allah will enrich you. Thank the Lord, there's really no Islamic state that enforces this. Praise the Lord Jesus Christ, right?
That's actually not true. You have the Islamic Republic occupying Iran, which enforces this. You also have Qatar that enforces this by spreading their jihadi ideology. And actually, we spoke about this yesterday. If you were watching my live streams about Qatar, I did a whole live stream about how Qatar is promoting their Islamist ideology in the West through universities and through paying journalists and lobbyists and pundits as well. So I don't agree with what he's saying here. There are certainly states that enforce this 100%.
Right? I mean, if you ask me, is there an Islamic State? No, there isn't. Are some
What do you mean there's no Islamic State? The Islamic Republic occupying Iran. Oh my gosh, this is okay. I don't agree with this part here.
countries more Islamic than others? Yes. But there is no truly Islamic state, right? That implements what the Quran and the Sharia puts. But you understand.
The Islamic Republic occupying Iran literally implements. Like you want Sharia law. That's the Islamic Republic occupying Iran. So that's a pretty ignorant take. But again, we have to remember at the beginning of the podcast, he did say that he grew up in Chicago from the age of 2, and he himself admitted he does not know a lot about the Middle East. So while he may be well versed in religious doctrine, and he might be well versed in, you know, debating religion and all that stuff, it's pretty obvious that when it comes to the Middle East and Middle Eastern politics, he does not know a lot about that. And he admitted that. So I mean, I can't agree or disagree with what he's saying about religion, because again, like, I'm not a theologist. I just, I know what I know based on geopolitics and Islamic terrorism, and my experience with the Islamic Republic occupying Iran. But his statement right now that there are no Islamic states, it's not true at all. There are numerous Islamic states.
And this is how Islam expanded. Go find people where they're at, invite them to Islam, and if they accept, they're safe. If not, take the jizya from them, and if not, kill them until the victor goes the spoils. Another thing that's related to Christ. Why then should you fight Jews and Christians? Verse 30. The Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, but it's not Ezra, it's Uzair. They tell you it's Ezra. But with that said, there's not any shred of historical evidence that the Jews ever worshipped Ezra as the unique son of God. Doesn't exist. So where does this come from? Well, the Muslims say, well, there was a particular group at a particular time, but those are the Muslim sources. If you ask them, can you give me any pre-Islamic or sources besides Islam that there were Jews who worshiped Ezra or whoever? No, they can't find it. But now watch. The Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. Now, there they got us. If I ask you guys, do you believe Messiah is the son of Allah? Do you believe Jesus is the son of God?
Yes.
It says, for that reason, they must fight you. It's right there. The son of Mary. And they were not I'm sorry, you skipped to 31. That is what they say with their mouths. See, that's something you just say for you made it up. Imitating the sayings of those who disbelieved before. May Allah destroy them. How do you think Allah is going to destroy you? He's going to come down on a horse? Who do you think he's going to use to destroy you? The jihadis. Am I making it up? It's right there.
Nope.
This is the context of jihad. This is what Islam, this is Muhammad's final marching orders. Whether you like it or not, if they become predominant majority, and if they're zealous, now thank God most Muslims are not, they have to do this.
Sam, how many times have you read the Quran?
I don't know, really. Maybe once or twice. I don't know.
No, stop it.
No, I'm serious. I don't.
Literally, you've read it maybe once or twice?
Yeah.
And how do you remember everything?
As I was said, I think we said off there, in the 90s, I realized, honestly, when I would have a conversation, verses would pop in my head. So it's not I trained for it, and I don't want people to be impressed by it, right? Oh, is it? No. Knowledge puffs up, love builds up. I got a lot of issues that I pray God will show me mercy on the day of judgment. But I just realized maybe it's God's way of gifting me.
How many times have you read the Bible?
If I go back, I probably read it 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah. I don't really read it all the way through. Like now, it's just like, I'll go through it, maybe read a psalm here or there, or if I'm researching. Yeah, I guess like when they dropped, really, I was dropped as a child when I was 1 on my head. So maybe I triggered something. I don't know. Maybe that's how God does it, right?
Are you a massive, because when I sat down with Charlie Kirk and we would talk to him off camera, he would say he studies 3 hours every day, no matter what he reads, and studies 3 hours every day.
Yeah.
Do you have a ritual of studying a lot every day? Do you read a lot every day?
Not that way. What I do is I'm always on my blog writing posts for people, if not doing live streams. So I'm not studying, I'm writing to equip people with articles so they can use it in battle. Because I want to equip people. So because look,
but that's basically like studying, right? Because if you're writing articles, you're doing research, you're going back, you're figuring things out, you're thinking about it. So I mean, that in and of itself is a form of studying.
if the Lord tarries, I'm going to die.
So at 6.5, this 9-year-old comes to you. At that time, what's your relationship with your dad at 6.5?
My dad walked away when I was probably 7, shortly right after that.
So it's right around that time that this is happening to you. Got it. Okay, so that had a massive impact on you. Because, huge.
Yeah.
So is that a moment for you where your biological father walked out, but your spiritual father is going to be with you forever?
Yeah.
Did that give you that peace as a young man?
Yeah, Raymond was
young boy.
Yeah, Raymond was pretty much my dad, even though he was 9. And his grandmother, my mother, was a wonderful woman. She left a wonderful legacy, but she wasn't educated in scripture. But his grandmother was my spiritual mother.
Raymond's grandmother.
Raymond, because his mother died when he was young. So his maternal grandmother raised him and his brother.
How much time did you spend with her?
I think from 6.5 to 10.
How often? Like every day?
Every day we'd go. I'd hang out with him every day. We'd go to the house. She would teach us prayers.
She would or he would?
She would. In fact, because of her impact, I still remember. Now I know it's part of the liturgy of the Assyrian Church, but I didn't know that back then. She would teach. She taught me this, and it etched for some reason those prayers. Qaddisha alaha qaddi. She taught me that. She also taught me the Ave Maria, but in a different way from where like Buccelli says it. She taught it this way. Now, guys, I'm not a singer, and I'm not going to give up my day job. So she taught it this way. Ave, Ave, Ave Maria. So I remember that. For some reason, it stayed in my mind. Right? She was a wonderful woman.
6.5 years old. Was Raymond's grandmother friends with your mother?
No.
They didn't know each other?
No. They were in the neighborhood. So, you know how you meet people high and by,
Sure.
But
You're
it wasn't,
Chicago.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, we're cousin. No, just he was taught to go soul winning. So when he won me, he took me to his grandmother and she'd teach us prayers.
And what was the denomination?
She was Catholic. His uncle on his mother's side became Baptist.
So later on at 18 years old, when that's security guard, the guy you're working with at the valet at this Bub's
City,
Bub City, when you worked there, and he introduced you to the Nation of Islam and Farrakhan and all these guys. At that time, would you say?
Oh my gosh, Louis Farrakhan is a terrible person. He supported the Islamic Republic occupying Iran, and I think at one point he even went to occupied Iran. And even though the guy's like an American, he was in occupied Iran and he was like, yelling death to America, death to Israel in Farsi, which is such a disgrace, right? So yeah, this whole like Nation of Islam, I don't know, man. It's like super, super sketchy. Louis Farrakhan, big grifter, and he was a big supporter of Islamic terrorists. I'm kind of glad he's dead now. I think he's dead. I'm glad he's dead. I hope he's rotting in hell.
Pre-meeting him, you'd consider yourself a Christian, or you're lost teenager kind of going through?
Yeah, I had pretty much turned my back on Christian.
When you left at 10 years old, 1982,
it was about 13. 13. When he 10, he relooked, but I think he was 10. He moved, and I started slipping. But around 13, I was just
gone.
Yeah.
So 13 to 18, there's nothing.
No. Nothing.
No church, no mentor, no father figure, no nothing.
Yeah.
Did you go to college? Are you a good student in school? What are you doing in school?
I was such a good student. I got that on out of high school. Third year. Yeah.
In high school.
Yeah.
And this is Chicago.
GD. Yep. Then I got a GD and never been to college, never been to seminary, never been to university.
What was your what class came easy to you? Are you a math guy? Are you an English guy? Are you a history guy? Are you?
I liked history, but not in school. I just hated being in school because of my body dysmorphia and low self-esteem. I couldn't be around crowds.
Were you in gangs? Were you a troublemaker? Were you?
Yeah, I was with the gangs, but I wasn't the tough guy. I mean, yeah, I hung out with like the Assyrian kings,
In Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Assyrian kings,
Got
right?
it.
Yeah.
So 18 years old, you meet this guy. Did you ever convert and become a Muslim or no?
In my heart, I believe Muhammad was a prophet, but it's not good enough because if you go with Sunni Islamic tradition, you have to take the Shahada in front of at least 2 witnesses. But the guy who was talking about Islam, he didn't take me to a mosque. He just was talking. And then I started. My curiosity is such that when I get into something, I have to study it. So if I backtrack, like when I like Bruce Lee, I had up every book on Bruce Lee. And I would devour hours into Bruce Lee. I had to know this guy inside and out. When it came to bodybuilding, I would devour every bodybuilding magazine. And there was Arnold Schwarzenegger's encyclopedia. That
50.
Something about me when I'm into something, I eat it up and nothing else matters. It's like I'm just focused on this. The world can go to hell. I mean, God forbid, but and so whatever I focus on becomes the entire center of my life. Everything I do revolves around that. So during this time, I'm thinking I've deceived myself. I'm going to make it to Hollywood. The Lord had a sense of humor.
At 18.
Yeah, but then when I was bodybuilding, my goal was that I'm going to get into Hollywood like these guys did. Bruce Lee did martial arts. I'm going to do it somehow. So
are you watching Jean-Claude Van Damme? Are you watching all these movies? Are you watching?
I would watch them, but they never compared to Bruce Lee. I would watch Bruce Lee over.
You know who's a big Bruce Lee guy?
Who?
Dana White.
He is?
You go to his gym in his office, Bruce Lee quotes everywhere.
He's all right.
When you walk into his office, there's a Bruce Lee quote on the wall in his office. Like Dana's a Bruce Lee fanatic.
So he does think he's a real deal. He's not a fake, huh?
No. He's based on the way I had when I was with him. It was a lot of respect for him. His quotes are all over his gym, everywhere. Okay, so 18 years old now. Is he discipling you? Is this guy
No.
Did he bring you anywhere? Did you meet somebody? Did you meet any of the big names?
Nope.
On the Nation of Islam? Nothing.
I
It's
just
all
went-
independent identity.
I just
18
went
years old.
searching. Went to bookstores and
18 years old, there's no internet. There is internet, but there's not the Google and all that stuff because you know your age where you're at.
Yeah.
I don't remember using internet at that time either.
No.
It was more the AOL chat or whatever it
you
was.
remember
right?
there, yeah, the slow one.
Yeah, that's right. Net zero and
Yeah, the dial-up internet. Does anyone remember? Did anyone ever have those like AOL compact discs or floppy disks, and you would put in a code and you would get like, I don't know, 10 hours of free dial-up a month or something. And then like they would hand those out so much. Like, I remember I had like so many of those. And that's what I used for the longest time to go on the internet with those AOL discs. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the dial-up internet back in the day. Jeez. You know what, the stuff that we went through, and like young people these days have no idea. Oh yeah, Netscape. Guys, Napster. Do you remember Napster? And then LimeWire. Guys, ICQ. Come on, the OGs. The OGs, like we used ICQ before AOL Messenger. Oh my gosh. So random. All right. I had to put that in there because this kind of this brought me back a little bit.
and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so at this time you're going through it, and then you read the Quran and you go through your phase. What are you doing occupation wise? What are you doing to make money?
Sorry, just a comment here. Yeah, Gandalf. When the cell phones came, the speakers could tell when your cell phone was going to ring because you would hear like that staticky noise. And then, someone was like, uh-oh, yeah, the ICQ. Uh-oh. I remember that.
Money.
At that time, I was working security, and sometimes I'd work as a tow truck guy, just to buy time to get into. I'm serious. I really thought I was delusional. All right, but how did I research? I just go to bookstore. There was a Muslim bookstore in Chicago, Northside, Devon. There's actually 2. One of them is still there. If the people are watching, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's by Devon, California. It's called Iqra. But in the 90s, it was not at that same spot. So I'd go buy Muslim books, and I'd go. Now we still have Barnes and Nobles, but at that time we also had Borders.
Mhm.
You guys remember Borders?
Of course.
Yeah, I love Borders more than Barnes and Nobles.
Why
But
is that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just liked it. Maybe the colors. Who knows? But I would go there and try to get books, and then Muslim bookstores, obviously. But what really did it for me is I would buy VHS tape debates. We're living in a time of the VCR, VHS. I know some people saying, "What is that?" Right? I think it's like the way of the dodo bird. Betamax, and we had VHS. So they would sell Muslim Christian debates. Now all those debates are online on YouTube, but that time we didn't have YouTube. So I bought them, and I'll tell you how I got into apologetics, because that's
wild. Imagine he would buy VHS tapes of like Muslim debates. Of course, everything is available on YouTube now, like he said, but that's just crazy. Like I never thought about that. But yeah, I guess, we all just sort of forget how blessed we are to live in an age right now where information is readily available to us right at our fingertips, right? But wow, like back in the 90s he would go out and buy VHS tapes. That's some dedication right there.
that was because of some Muslim guy who challenged me. But when I watch the debates, I'm designed in a weird way. I learn more from attacks on the faith than I learn from defending the faith, because it forces me to think. So I was watching the Muslims slaughtering the Christians, and it got me to think, how do I answer this guy? So that put a fire in me to find answers. Now, I was never discipled. I didn't have a pastor. I didn't have a priest. I had to just rely on God's Spirit to guide me to the right sources, find the right, let's say, authors, or listen to the right Christians. But when it came to Christian-Muslim debates, the Christians were getting slaughtered. I cannot tell you of any Christian that I think won a debate decisively in the 90s. There were some close, but for some reason, the Muslims were slaughtering the Christians.
What was their angle? What angle did they take that Christians didn't have a way to defend themselves?
Even when it came to Christian topics, the Christians were doing bad. Like, is the Bible God's word? You would have scholars, like, in fact, it's on YouTube, like the late Dr. Gleason L. Archer, who was professor emeritus of, now it's closed, but in Deerfield, Illinois, you had Trinity Evangelical Divinity Seminary. This man was a beast. Now, he's gone with the Lord. He would read and write 25 languages.
Jeez.
He's amazing. But when it came to debate, he was getting slaughtered. And by neophyte Muslims who don't know biblical languages. And on topics you think it would be easy for him, he was just getting slaughtered. You'll find on YouTube, Gleason Archer, Muslim debates, disappointing. Trinity, getting slaughtered. Topics that we should win. It's one thing when you're debating a Muslim topic you're not familiar with, and you have the advantage, you're a Muslim. But when it comes to your own topics, and and he is brilliant, but he's not a debater. See, you'll see some of the debates right there. Gleason Archer versus Jamal Badawi, the authenticity of the Quran. I mean, it was heartbreaking, because I'm not a scholar. I'm just a teenager, and these scholars, is there a response? So to tell you how I got into this, so see how God works. When I finally did embrace Christ and realized that Muhammad was deceived, an antichrist, 1 John 2, 22, 23, I had a friend who used to teach me how to box, because I used to teach him how to bodybuild. I don't want to mention his name. I don't know what happened to him since, and I don't want to get him in trouble. I don't know if he's still in the faith, but he was from a Bosnian background. His father was a boxing coach. And so he would teach me boxing. I would teach him how to lift weights. Because remember, I'm going to get into Hollywood, brother. I'm here. As I started talking to him about Christianity, he started getting interested. Now, remember, he's Muslim background.
Bosnian Muslim
Yes,
background.
yeah.
Interesting.
So he started not going to the Jummah prayers, Friday prayers, and his community college, Wright College. So the Muslims started noticing. So they asked him, what's going on? He goes, well, I'm starting to get into Christianity. Who's the guy? Who's been influencing you? Well, I'm a neophyte. I'm green. I don't know much about it. I'm just learning. So I met a couple of his friends. They brought in a big gun. I don't want to mention his name. I don't want to give him publicity. It's from Chicago. He was a real estate guy from South Asia? We'll leave it at that. He walked in the church that I was in. It was a Korean church. He had like a folder, binder. I don't know what they call it, but we don't have it anymore. But he came in, he opened it up. You know, where they have those rings,
Mhm.
paper.
Yeah.
He was ready, man. He had a combat kit. It's called Later on, I realized they call it the combat kit. In fact, it was made famous by another Muslim debater named Ahmad Didat. Ahmad Didat, who's since deceased in 2005, he became famous when
I mean, I kind of have one of those too. Like, here's my folder. It's even got a zipper, guys. It's got a zipper. Look at this. And then I got paper in it and like rings and stuff. So I guess I have my own combat kit too. There you go.
he debated Jimmy Swaggart, is the Bible God's word? And from the Muslim perspective, Swaggart got destroyed. That made him international. He's from South Africa. If you look at it from a logical perspective, he didn't win. But debates are not won on substance. It's won on rhetoric, personality, and flash. And he's very
So true.
charismatic. He's another guy, Carriage.
It's so true. Debates are not won on facts. They're won on, like he said, personality, charisma. And it's the same thing with politics as well. That's why a lot of politicians, very charismatic, but they're completely brain dead. And that's why, a lot of the political debates are very frustrating because you just have a bunch of low IQ people. And, as someone who was in politics for 10 years, um, I can say with 100% certainty that 95% of the people who are in politics are brain dead idiots. And they basically just fail upward because they rely on their charisma more so than on their substance or on their integrity or doing or saying the right thing. They care more about votes, and so they'll say and do anything to get people's votes.
Jimmy Swaggart did, but he won. If you look at just the facts, Swaggart won. But the rhetoric and the confidence of Didat, he was a very huge fellow, right? Just impressed and bedazzled the Muslims. He was the biggest Muslim debater at that time. The second biggest is Jamal Bari, who debated Gleason Archer. But coming back to this guy, you'll find it here. Ahmad Didat, Jimmy Swaggart. See? These are some of the historic debates that are setting the ground for future apologists. Some of the debates.
Hey guys, Vincent Oshana here. I recently released a new shirt for my faith-based line, Faith Over Fear.
Oh my gosh, what is this? Like some random commercial now in the middle of the... Okay, let's go back to the podcast here. That was random. Okay.
Don't know nothing. I have no idea, brother. I just came into faith. Give me a break. No, he came. This is one other reason people say, why are you so aggressive? You're very, like, sometimes you can be very nasty. And because I think what he did to me impacted me because he was very nasty to me and he bullied me. And there's something about me that triggers me. When I feel I'm bullied, right? That's it. Yep. Ahmad Didat. Yeah. So
when you feel you're bullied?
Yeah, I've been bullied, but sometimes I've been the bully because to my shame. But when I get challenged, something kicks in. It's not like I want to be this way. And I go into like, I got to take you out. Now, I'm not a fighter physically. So how do I do it? I do it verbally. Because the way he approached me, now, had he approached me maybe in a nice manner, things may have been different. He was nasty, showed me no compassion, wanted to humiliate me. And he did.
Is this recorded?
No. He did. He humiliated me. I had no idea about the Bible because he would give me verses and then the Trinity. Well, how can Jesus be God? And I was destroyed, disgraced, and I was discouraged.
How old are you at the time?
I was close to, I think I was already in my 20s. It's in the 90s. And my buddy was there. I almost gave his name.
See, this is why I tend to avoid, debates when it comes to religion, because ultimately people are going to have their own religious belief, and I respect freedom of religion. I mean, I might not agree with someone's religion, but to each their own. I mean, you believe whatever you want to believe. My issue is when someone starts using their religion to justify oppressing others. That's where I take issue with it, right? And so, that's where my focus on Islamic terrorism comes in, where, you have these Islamic radicals who are going around murdering infidels in the name of Allah. And then, because they believe that their religion tells them to do so. So yeah, like, this is why, like, I never really watch religious debates or things like that, because you can have two people and they can just argue ad nauseum, and no one ever really feels like they win, because ultimately, like, your religion is based on your belief, and so you're gonna believe that one thing no matter what. My focus is more on the practical side, but again, a lot of you wanted to see something a little bit more focused on the religion side of things, so that's why I'm playing this podcast by Patrick Bet David. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. It's really interesting. But like, when he's talking about how, like, he would have all these religious debates and he felt bullied, I'm thinking, like, why would you even debate anyway? I mean, it's not like a scientific debate where there's one answer or not. And I mean, um ultimately, people are going to have their own belief, and you can't debate your way out of it. You know what I mean? But anyways, like, again, this is why, like, my focus is more on the practical, right?
His name. I don't want to give his name. Lord help me not to mention his name. I almost came out. He was there to witness it, but he didn't like lose his faith in Christianity. So I remember going at night and I started praying, and this was my deal with God. I said, God, if you give me answers to these questions, I swear to you, I will commit my life to never allowing another Christian to be humiliated ever again by a Muslim. And that set it in motion.
So when you made that prayer, what happens next? What is given to you?
The Lord is just directing my steps. Here, read this, read that, study this. And so, you know how...
The debate with Ahmadi Didat, how many people are around while this is taking place?
No, I didn't debate Didat. I debated someone who was an admirer of him.
So you debated the realtor that used the manual that he created to debate you.
That was influenced by him. Now, he has his own manual, but he had his manual that was influenced by Didat.
Oh, I got it.
So it's not, but he's the trendsetter. He's the one.
I got it.
Right? He sells his own, but this guy had his folder with all this.
Is this realtor guy still preaching, or no? Is he still out there doing this thing, or no?
The last time I saw him, glory to God, vindication, I'll just tell you, a little ego, because Assyrians, we got to win, right? When I came back a couple of years later, he ran between his tail between his legs, and I felt vindicated. That was the last time. So I don't know if he's alive or dead.
So that was in your 20s. That's a long time
so
ago.
that's in the 90s, and he was already maybe in his 40s. So I don't know.
Got it.
But the Lord gave me vindication.
Once you asked the Lord, you prayed for that. Who came into your life?
No one person. It was still the Spirit guiding me. That's why I was saying I would go to stores. And I've met few Christian authors and lecturers, but it's all on VHS. But it wasn't how they shaped me when it comes to defeating Muslims. I learned a lot from two individuals in particular, but their approach was good, but it wasn't like devastating. The two names that really influenced me when it came to refuting Islam, and they're actually online for the website I write for, answeringislam.info. John Gilchrist, he wrote a series of booklets and books because he was also in South Africa. He was the response to Didat. So if you go to answeringislam.info, I'll walk you through it. Answering Islam. All right. Yep. Now, if you look at individual authors, if you go down to the red, right there, individual authors, you're going to see John Gilchrist. It's that man right there. He wrote a series of books and booklets responding to Didat. I learned a lot from him, but his arguments were not devastating. So if you want to say, I would say he's an influence. Another man that really influenced me because he taught me how to think logically is even here on just in the website. If you go to William Campbell is right there to your left, all the way to your left, Campbell. And then right there, you see.
Right in the middle, right?
Up.
Yeah, there you go.
He wrote a book, The Quran and the Bible, Light of History and Science. If you click on that, phenomenal book. Phenomenal book. That book, man, I ate it up. Because he was writing a response to a man named Maurice Bouquet. He was the physician for the king of Saudi Arabia. He wrote a book in 1975, I believe, The Bible, the Quran, and Science. So he, as a non-Muslim, claimed, whereas the Bible is full of scientific errors, the Quran has none. In fact, it's a miracle. No, exactly. That book was being shoved down the throats of Christians. The Bible, Quran, and Science. Dr. Maurice Bouquet. Conveniently, he's the physician of the
That's crazy.
king of Saudi Arabia, and he found no mistakes in the Quran. Is that a coincidence? Yeah. No, it's completely unbiased. So this guy took him to the, took him to school, obliterated his arguments. That book right there, I can say, I probably read that book maybe 20 times.
Oh, wow.
Because he introduced, there's a chapter talking about deductive reasoning, right? And, how to think logically and how to avoid the etymological fallacy or how to avoid chronological fallacy, where you read a later meaning of a word into an earlier period of time. So you can't do that. So if a word means X now, that doesn't mean it had the same meaning 300 years ago. So you cannot apply modern definitions to words in an earlier context. You have to see how those words were used at that time. He blessed me. Because the Muslims will, the Arabic means this. Well, it means this now. What did it mean at the time, Muhammad? It's because words evolve. Like even the word pig, ironically. 100 years ago, now you put it in one of the entry, a metaphorical slur, policeman, cop, right? That would be one of the definition. Was that the meaning 200 years ago? No. So words evolve. So you can't tell me because the Arabic means this now, it meant that at the time when the Quran is written. So he taught me how to think critically. Now, the only problem is this guy debated Zakir Naik, and I was in the audience. And sadly, he got slaughtered by Zakir Naik, so his book was discredited.
William Campbell.
Yeah, he got this because he's not a debater. He was an older gentleman. Some people, if you want the most effective takedown of anything, you got to know people's strengths and weaknesses, and you got to then put them in their areas of strength, keep them away from areas of weakness. So if I know you're a phenomenal speaker but not a debater, I'll let you speak. This guy's a devastating debater, he'll do the debates. If you're a phenomenal writer, not a good speaker, you do the writing. And if you're specialized, let's say in the Trinity, you only talk about the Trinity. He specializes in destroying, let's say, Hinduism. You don't deal with anti-Trinity. That's not your field. Stay in refuting Hinduism. You're great at Islam. You don't deal with Jehovah's Witnesses. You suck in that. Mm-hmm. Here's a guy. That's how you got to do it. You got to know people in their areas of strength. Like Robert Spencer, you won't find anyone better in political jihad and historical Muhammad. You put him there, he's going to shine. No one's going to touch him. So you got to know the person and put them in their area of expertise. So like me, I don't know much about science.
Guys, I made a note here to remind myself. I'm going to find some videos by Robert Spencer, and I will play those during my regular live streams, which, I do at 12 noon Eastern. And I'll definitely play some good ones from him, which focus on political jihad, which is, of course, the main topic of this YouTube channel.
Science. I don't know much about atheism. The most stupidest thing I can do is debate an atheist. Because if it's about the glory of Christ, I don't want to go and embarrass myself and destroy faith. So let me bring those lions, Christians, who spend their time eating up atheists. So that's how you have to strategize. So Campbell was a great writer, not a great speaker. He got destroyed by Zakir Naik.
This is the debate?
Yep. That's a clip from the debate.
So who have you debated that's a high-level scholar, known Muslim debater?
That's hard. So I think it would be my first debate with Shibrali. I think that's the only one credible. Everyone else tried to make a name, but it didn't go too far. There's not many great Muslim debaters, even today. They're popular ones, but that doesn't mean they're great.
Who were the popular ones?
Daniel Hakikuchu, very popular. Muhammad Ajab exploded. He's very popular.
Would you debate him?
Absolutely.
You would debate Muhammad Ajab?
Absolutely. In fact, one thing, though, I have to share, because I know how to bring down Islam. You have to know what to debate. This is the problem with many Christians who set up debates. They don't know what to debate. If you want to see Islam destroyed, you have to know what to debate. And when you propose these debates, they'll try to make 10,000 excuses not to debate them because they'll know it's the end of the
Such as what?
The one thing I always start with before I debate a Muslim, what did Muhammad say about the Bible? It's called the Islamic dilemma. Islamic dilemma, we put a Muslim in a dilemma. What's the dilemma? Well, just like my New Testament confirms the Old Testament. So as Christians, we can't attack the Old Testament. We're stuck with it. So when they tell me, what about these wars in the Old Testament? I can say, Jesus told me the Old Testament's God's word. So I got to join with the Jews in defending the Old Testament, right? Sometimes it's hard. But if I believe Jesus and I believe in his lordship, he told me the Old Testament's God's word. It's not the Vedas. I'm stuck. You know, we love you, Lord, and you didn't make it too easy, right? And we have to deal with all these, wipe everything that breathes. Muhammad put them in a similar situation. All throughout the Quran, Muhammad said one of the proofs of his prophethood is that my Quran confirms your scriptures. It agrees with them. No, it doesn't. My Bible contradicts your Quran. That means the Quran is false. But see, the Muslims see that and say, oh, you must have changed the Bible. But the Quran never says it's been changed. They try to take a verse here and there out of context. And but you read the context, it'll either refer to the misinterpretation of the text or a particular group in a particular area, but not the entire community itself. So once I debate that, anytime they attack the Bible, I go, oh, so you agree Muhammad is wrong. Why? He said my Bible is not changed. You said it is, so that means he's wrong. So are you going to renounce Muhammad? See, this is how you have to do it. But then they'll come back and say, if they say, well, no, the Bible is right. Well, Muhammad is wrong again. Because my Bible says that what the Quran says about Jesus is wrong. So Islamic dilemma, damn if you do, damn if you don't. See, once you do that, everything else falls in place.
So you would debate him, and what topics would you debate him on?
I would love to get these guys to debate me, Islamic dilemma, whether the Quran is perfectly preserved, free of contradictions. Does Islam teach Tawheed? Meaning, does it teach the absolute oneness of Allah? Believe it or not, it doesn't. That's what they'll tell you. They'll sell you that script. And does the Bible teach a Trinity and or the deity of Christ? These are the foundational issues, right? These are it. This is where you destroy Islam. Because Islam's bread and butter is, we have the purest form of monotheism. More so than you Christians, you worship three gods, right? That's a lie from the pit of hell. Islam is anything but monotheism if you really study its sources. But if you let them just give you their spiel and quote a verse here and quote a verse there and catch you off guard, yeah, it sounds like it's more monotheistic than Christianity. It's actually very polytheistic.
In what way?
Well, if you deal with the Sunni Muslims, let's go with that. Not Quran-only Muslims. They believe the Quran is the uncreated speech of Allah. So here's another problem that Christians have. They will debate the Bible versus the Quran. Wrong debate. Wrong debate. Because the Islamic understanding of the Quran is our view of Jesus. And this is something admitted by Muslim scholars. What do I mean? In Christianity, Christ is the uncreated eternal word of the Father who became flesh. Well, that's what they believe about the Quran. The Quran is the uncreated word of God that became a book. So your view of Jesus is their view of the Quran. It's not your view of the Bible. None of us think the Bible is the uncreated word of God. Impossible. Because God used human authors and used their personalities. So if you're going to say it's the uncreated word of God, then you're going to say those human authors also are uncreated. It doesn't work. But Jesus is the uncreated word of God. John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. And then 14, the Word became flesh. So they took that idea of Jesus and applied it to the Quran. Something admitted by Muslim scholars. Now, if the Quran is the uncreated word of Allah,
I mean, to be fair, a lot of the things in the Quran were stolen from the Bible and from the Torah, and then they were just sort of like changed around and like readapted for the Quran.
very easy dilemma. Is the Quran Allah? Is it the same as Allah? Now, in Islamic theology, they'll say, it is not Allah and it's not other than Allah. And they'll say, Billah kaif. It's not Allah, it's not other than Allah. What does that mean? Meaning, no, it's not identical to Allah, but it's not separable from Allah. So it's not identical to Him. Because Allah is not the Quran. Allah has a set of attributes. But here's the problem. So if you say the Quran is not Allah and it's uncreated, how many uncreated entities do you have? 2. But I thought there's only one uncreated entity. Now they have to sound like Christians saying, though they're distinct, they're inseparable, so they're one. Oh, welcome to the wonderful world of the Trinity. That's the first step. Now I can go further in their tradition. The Quran actually speaks. There are sound narrations where it says that on a day of judgment, the Quran will appear as a man interceding for you. Now, I'm kind of confused on that. If this is a speech of Allah, who is it speaking to? Well, it's speaking to Allah. So Allah is speaking to himself? No. The Quran is speaking to Allah, so it's not Allah. Oh, so the Quran has its own consciousness. It can interact with Allah, so they're not the same person. They're different conscious entities, but they're inseparable. Wow, you're sounding more like a Trinitarian the more we speak. Now, if you multiply with the chapters, even the chapters speak and they appear. It says, chapter 2 and 3 of the Quran will appear as birds, and they will cover you with the wings, and they'll go before you, arguing with Allah to defend you.
Oh, someone in the chat asked me if I can read Farsi. Yes, I can read Farsi.
Does that sound like Islam teaches absolute the unity of Allah?
Let me ask you, in regards to the religion itself, on how it's grown over the years, okay? And I'm sure as you're going through it, you know, they've had a lot of success.
Yes,
They've grown at a pace where you can look at data on by what year, you know, the world's going to be a majority Muslim. I think it's 2060 or something like that.
Yep, it will.
2060, 2070. And they're not slowing down. And then you see the growth they're having in UK. In 1980, was only 500,000 people living there, give or take. Today, they got 4.5 million people, 5 million people living there. And you're seeing London growing the way that it is. The mayor is a only three-term mayor they've ever had, Sadiq Khan. And then you're seeing what happened in New York with Mamdani getting elected, right? Muslim, democratic socialist. They're growing, okay? On the Christian side, I don't know if, you know, Charlie Kirk played offense. Charlie Kirk was out there doing a lot and getting a hold of young kids who Turning Point USA wanted to grow up and be able to defend their faith in a strong way. And he was...
It's so sad that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Like, I still think about that, and like, he was just such a nice guy, and the woke left just demonized him. And then they were like celebrating his assassination. I mean, like, what kind of soulless monster do you have to be to celebrate the assassination of someone like Charlie Kirk? It's just, wow, very sad.
Becoming unapologetic, right? The way he was doing it, Charlie was. Why do you think their church is growing the way that it is?
Yeah. Well, if you look at it really and compare it, it's not really so much conversion. Yeah, they get converts, but even statistics have shown now, I don't know when the last statistic came out, but I remember years ago, one statistic showed that about over 90% of converts leave Islam in 5 years because they're giving a sanitized version of Islam that when they study, they realize it doesn't correspond to what they were taught.
It's so true, guys. Did you see that video? Oh my gosh, let me see if I can find it. There's this video of like this like influencer on social media, and then she pretends, or I don't know, or like she claims that she like converted to Islam, and then and then she can't handle it, so she posts this social media profile. Where is it? I need to find this. Let me find this video. I know I just saw it somewhere. I literally just saw it on my... Oh gosh. Okay. All right. I'm going to find the video, but yeah, it was like this random like girl, and then, you know, she converted to Islam on social media, and then like she wore the hijab, and then she got sick of it, I think, after like a few months. So then like she posts this video and she's like, so, you know, like a lot of you are going to be upset. And she's like this like random white girl, right? A lot of you are going to be upset. I just want to say that, you know, even before I announced publicly that I was a Muslim, like, me and Allah, we had a thing going on, and I just kind of wish I'd kept it private. And so, like, I'm not going to wear hijab anymore, but I'm still a Muslim. And, just for the next little while, I'm never gonna, like, for the next little while, or I don't know, maybe never, I'm not going to talk about Islam anymore, but I'm still Muslim. Like, it's just the funniest thing. Okay, I have to find this video. But what he says here is so true. Like, all these ignorant people convert to Islam because they don't actually know what it's like. And then when they find out, they're like, oh shit, what did we get into? Um, but then they also have to recognize that the punishment for leaving Islam is death, right? So yeah. All right, I'm gonna replay this. I'm gonna try to find that. I'm gonna try to find that video.
Offense. Charlie Kirk was out there doing a lot and
Yeah.
getting a hold of young kids who Turning Point USA wanted to grow up and be able to defend their faith in a strong way. And he was becoming unapologetic, right? The way he was doing it, Charlie was.
Yeah.
Why do you think their church is growing the way that it is?
Yeah. Well, if you look at it really and compare it, it's not really so much conversion. Yeah, they get converts, but even statistics have shown now. I don't know when the last statistic came out, but I remember years ago, one statistic showed that about over 90% of converts leave Islam in 5 years because they're giving a sanitized version of Islam that when they study, they realize it doesn't correspond to what they were taught.
So over 90%.
Guys, I found the video. Okay, I found the video. Let me send it to myself here. Let me transfer it from my phone to my laptop here. All right, this is the girl who just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Here, give me a moment. Let me pull this up. Okay. Here you go. All right, guys. Okay. Just watch this.
I'd rather do anything than make this video, but genuinely I'm in a mental state that I've never been in before, and it's very scary. I know that this video is going to disappoint so many people. I know the comments are going to be filled with, I'm so disappointed. I knew she was a fake Muslim. People's definitely going to be saying that. People's definitely going to be saying I used the religion for clout. They're going to be saying I knew she was going to take the hijab off, all of this stuff. I'm actually just going to have to firm the comments because genuinely I'm like actually losing my mind in a serious way. I love the community of Muslim sisters that I've built on this platform. I genuinely hope to never, ever, ever lose the sisterhood that I've built. And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate every single person that has made this journey easier for me, has said nice things to me, has been there for me, has asked me for advice. I've advised them. Like, genuinely, thank you so, so, so much. I love the community I have built more than anything. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I've been able to give you guys and that you've also been able to give me. Islam genuinely changed my life for the better, and it's something I'll forever be grateful for and I'll forever be a part of. If anyone takes anything from this video, please let it be that I will always be a Muslim, no matter what you see me posting. Well, not like I'm going to be like going around posting haram stuff, but like without the hijab and stuff, I am always going to be a Muslim. Like, don't let people in the comments be telling you she said that she's not anymore, because I've never said that and I never will say that. Like, I'm always going to be a Muslim. With that being said, I will say the most I feel like I'm on deen and most connected to Allah is when it's between me and Allah. Like, when I first reverted, I didn't tell social media for like 6 months, and genuinely I do really, really regret telling social media. Like, I regret for my personal self telling people, but also I know that my videos have helped so many people. So like, I don't regret posting them. I'm not going to take them down because I know that they do help a lot of people, but I am also going to stop posting about Islam for a little while, maybe forever. I'm really unsure at the moment.
Did you catch that? She's like, maybe I'm going to stop posting about Islam for a while, or maybe forever. Did you catch that? Okay.
To take them down because I know that they do help a lot of people, but I am also going to stop posting about Islam for a little while, maybe forever. I'm really unsure at the moment.
Oh my gosh. So all right. I had to share that. So when Sam here is talking about how a lot of the people who you know convert to Islam, most of them leave within 5 years. Yeah, he's not exaggerating because Yeah, because a lot of people have no clue what they're getting into. And again, I'm not here to judge a religion. I mean, you do you. If that's how you want to live your life, that's fine. But a lot of people have no idea what it's actually like, and they're not told everything. So it's always it's always the funniest thing for me to like see all these like people like convert to Islam because they have no idea what's coming. Oh my gosh! All right. So there you go.
One statistic showed that about over 90% of converts leave Islam in 5 years because they're giving a sanitized version of Islam that when they study, they realize it doesn't correspond to what they were taught.
So over 90%
Yes.
of converts leave within 5 years.
That was a statistic that
Rob,
was
can you
mentioned years ago, but find out maybe,
Yeah.
but they don't last. The majority of them don't. But those who end up, let's say, remaining, it's not much on conversion, but believe it or not, it has to do with procreation. You would, if you look at it, unless they're completely westernized, right? If they're bought into the Western dream and having more kids means greater financial responsibility, so have less kids. If they're not westernized, typically they have larger families. And because of that, if you have a Muslim who has a wife who has 4 kids, but then multiply that with 2 other wives on the side, we got problems. They're going to outnumber you. But the thing is also, even with that said, we have to be careful. Islam is not monolithic. Just because you have majority Muslims, they don't all believe the same. And many Muslims are secular. They're not even devout.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like a lot of people say Islam is the fastest growing religion. It's not because people are converting to Islam. It's because um, you know, every man has like up to 4 wives and then they're just like pumping out babies. So the reason it's the fastest growing religion is because, big families, multiple wives.
Muslims, they're Muslims by name. And secondly, Muslims turn on each other. So even when we say they're growing, it's not one branch of Islam that's growing. It is simply these populations who were then governed by Islam, many of whom don't know their tradition or they don't have the same tradition. And they're growing because of procreation more so than conversion. And then at times they become their worst enemies. In fact, if I'm correct, I'm not into the political thing, but what about the fights between Shia and Sunnis, even in recent times? In fact, I've seen videos where you'll find Sunni, the terrorists in Iraq, killing more Shia than non-Muslims. Why is that? Because they think Shia is even worse because of their views of Aisha. Not all Shia are extreme. So they turn on each other. They're not all in agreement. They're not monolithic. So even when you say, oh, they're going to be over 2 billion, but 2 billion Muslims of different mindsets, of different sects that don't all agree. And at times they turn against each other and anathematize one another. Same thing with Christianity. So I'm not trying to say Christianity doesn't have that problem, right? We Christians, okay, when you say there are 2 billion Christians, well, among those, you're counting Jehovah's Witnesses, and you're counting Mormons, and you're counting all these cult groups that identifies Christianity. You're not just counting historic Christian churches. You're not just counting the Catholic Church, or you're counting all who sign off as a Christian. And some of them are Christian by name, but live like the devil. So are they really Christian? When you have a Muslim saying he's a Muslim, but he drinks and eats pork, and they do that.
Of course.
We've met them, especially in Chicago. My teenage years, I had a couple of good Muslim buddies. They were anything but Muslim, right? So it's to say you're Muslim is one thing, but to say practicing Muslims, how many?
Well, let me ask this, because you'll talk to some people who are Jewish. They'll say I'm Jewish, right? Adam will say I'm Jewish. I'm not really Jewish. I'm more Jewish.
Yeah, see.
But you have that. The watered down, Christians, Jews, and Muslims.
Exactly.
Okay. However, which one has more radical, true believers of their faith? Okay. So forget about the 2 billion. Forget about the 2.1 billion Christians. Forget about the 15 million Jews. Forget about, all those that we can go through. Which one has a bigger percentage of true believers? That they have fully bought into their vision long term, and they're imposing, they're driving.
Yeah.
That's the number you got to look at, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I haven't done any intensive study on Christians who are devout Christians, but you have a revival happening right now. You're having a revival where the youth are not just nominal Christians, they are being sparked up to be on fire for Christ. So this is why I say I can't really give you a number if there are more zealous Muslims than Christians, but to say that in recent times, because of recent events, there hasn't, the Spirit is moving in such a way that I'm also astonished, seeing the hunger among youth to want to now come back to their Christian roots, or even, by the way,
He makes a very good point. I know that for a fact, both Christianity and Zoroastrianism are the two fastest growing religions in occupied Iran. However, it's all done in secret because the crime for leaving Islam is death. And so many Iranians who have, left Islam or never believed in Islam in the first place um, are secret Christians or secret Zoroastrians. And they basically go to church underground and they have secret Bible studies and things like that in order to avoid being persecuted by the Islamic Republic.
the way you're having an explosion of converts of Islam in Muslim lands. They even say that the church is exploding in Africa and in Iran. They go, there are a lot of Iranians who become Christian, they're underground.
I just said that. Oh my gosh. Did I not just say that? I literally just said Christianity is the fastest growing religion in Iran.
But even with that said, when I say Christian, see, this is, again, we have to be fair. They're converting to a variety of forms of Christianity. Some are becoming Mormons. Well, do we consider them Christian? Right? Jehovah's Witnesses or oneness. So to say how many are zealous, I'd have to look at the statistics, but from my own experience seeing online, I'm seeing the youth come in droves on fire to reclaim their Christian faith and on fire for Jesus. I'm seeing it. When I was doing it in the late 90s, early 2000s, it wasn't the way it is now. So the YouTube is having whatever, not just YouTube, but you get what I'm saying, having a huge impact. It is causing people to look into Christianity, and I am seeing a lot of Muslims leave Islam for Christianity, but I am seeing people who convert to Islam, but those are the Christians, and I have to say, very poorly catechized and being given a sanitized version of Islam. Because I've interviewed people who said, I became a Muslim 5 years ago, but then I found such and such or such and such, and I saw, and I was shocked that this is what Islam teaches. I can't be a Muslim anymore. Because they give you a sanitized version of Islam. See, the difference with Jesus Christ, here's the difference. The more you get to know Muhammad and his teaching, the more repulsive it turns out to be. The more you get to know Jesus, the more irresistible he is. The more you fall in love with him. He is beauty in the flesh. If you want to show a person why not to become Muslim, just compare Muhammad to Jesus. Because Jesus makes everything else look ugly. Because he's just beautiful. What can you say bad about Jesus? I mean, even from the Islamic perspective, one of the ways I even argue my case that Jesus is superior to Muhammad, I use the Islamic Jesus. Because I don't believe the Islamic Jesus is the real Jesus, right? Because Paul told us, if you go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11, he warned. He's warning the church. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1 of 4, he's warning the church. He goes, look, I converted you basically, so you are my spiritual daughter. Because he's their spiritual father. He goes, I have betrothed you as a chaste virgin to one husband. Because the church is the bride of Christ. So this is spiritual. It's nothing carnal, nothing physiological, because we have to emphasize that because we have people, sick minds, who think that Christ is going to come and have a physical wife. No, it's the church, the spiritual bride of Christ. But there is something called spiritual virginity. Paul uses it. I want to present you as a chaste virgin to one husband, but I am afraid that as the serpent deceived Eve by his cunning, you too will be deceived from your simple devotion to Christ. Now, how does Satan, the serpent, rob us of our spiritual virginity? He says it. In verse 4, he says, because if someone comes and preaches another Jesus than we preached, or a different spirit from the one we received, or a different gospel, you put up with it easily. So he's saying the way Satan makes Christians lose their integrity, virginity, is by presenting another Jesus and you tolerate it. Well, he's talking about the Islamic Jesus. And I'm not saying he knew about it, but the other Jesus is the Jesus of Islam or Mormonism or Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not the same Jesus. There's only one Jesus, and you got to get him right. So the Jesus that Paul preached was God in the flesh, one with the Father and the Spirit. Any other Jesus is Satan's way of deceiving you. So when we say to Muslims, yeah, we all honor Jesus. No, we don't. I don't honor your Jesus. Your Jesus is not my Jesus. So, but when Christians go with it, Paul says, see now, you let the serpent cun you. You just fell for his trick. That's his trick. Yeah, you believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus. Yeah. No, your Jesus is Isa, who announced the coming Muhammad. My Jesus is the God of Muhammad, before whose feet Muhammad will bow and confess he's Lord. Is that your Jesus? They'll say no. Then your Jesus is not my Jesus. So this is the mindset you have to have. Good. You want to say something?
For when, the part that I watched this young lady, and I want to ask this because to me, I think about it on what benefit it has, right? This young lady is asking, you know who she's asking,
Yeah,
obviously.
Zechariah,
Knight, that's right.
That's the one who defeated William Campbell.
That's right. So she's asking him, hey, if men go to heaven, they get 72 virgins. What do women get?
Good
and
question.
this is his answer. It's a very good question. Go ahead, Rob.
Mother said that Muslims go to heaven, and then they get 72 women, the men. What will the women get? And so as far as the first question, the second question, I'll answer first and then come back to your first question. As far as the question is concerned, that if the men go to heaven, they'll get 72 that beautiful woman. What will the woman get? The same question was asked to Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, who's the wife of the Prophet. So the wife of the Prophet replied that the woman will get that which your heart hasn't desired, what your eyes hasn't seen, what your ear hasn't heard about. That means, inshallah, you will get something equal. What your heart hasn't desired, what your eyes hasn't seen, what your ear hasn't heard. So, inshallah, if you go to heaven, you will get something good, which, inshallah, you'll be satisfied. But the question is, first you have to enter heaven. If you don't enter heaven, you won't get that something which is good.
What does that mean?
Did you see he didn't answer the question?
Didn't answer it at all.
No. Pay attention to his trick. Oh, yeah, the Quran says, a woman will get what eye hasn't seen, right? Okay, well, hold on. Does that mean she's going to get 70 men? He never said yes. Did you catch that? Because he can't say that. That would be a lie from the pit of hell. So he's an excellent politician. He knows how to get around it. Because if you pay attention, he never said women will get multiple men. He can't say that. So, but you're going to get delights that are mind-blowing. Okay, I understand that. Does that include that the woman gets multiple men? Oh, but you're going to get what the eye has never seen or the mind has comprehended. Okay, but does that mean I'm going to get more than one husband? See, this is the rhetoric I'm talking about.
But what do women get in the Muslim religion?
Well,
in Islam,
can I tell you?
Yeah.
You will be part of the Houris that your husband will deflower for all eternity.
Tell me more.
I told you that, guys. Like, I think earlier on, I spoke about that, and I was like, when a woman goes to heaven, she doesn't get 72 virgins. She just becomes part of the 72 virgins of her husband. That's what's promised to her in heaven.
Tell me more.
Okay, now let's say you're a good Muslim woman.
Yeah.
You married a Muslim man.
Yeah.
Now, it's difficult to ascertain if you've been married multiple times, which Muslim man. But if you pass the test and you had a good Muslim husband, Allah will then make you part of those Houris for your husband to deflower. You'll be one among many. No,
it's a crappy deal for the girl.
Why do you think she asked? And notice he never said, oh, you're going to get 70 men. He can't say that. He knows he'd be lying. So that means a Muslim woman, she'll have huge breasts, firm breasts, 7833. She'll be part of the Hur al-Ain, if I tell you where that word comes from.
It always makes me uncomfortable listening to like this part of the Quran. It's just so awkward. Like I try to avoid this part. This is why I just focus on like Islamic terrorism, because the other parts are just like very awkward for me.
Our English word whore comes from that word, by the way.
I was just going to say, it sounds really familiar to whore. Just throwing
yeah,
that out there.
really, it's not.
I didn't know
that. You're going to be a whore? I was like, okay, that didn't sound.
I was almost going to break out with an impression. The brother said, but we're not doing comedy, Vincent. Vincent, we ain't doing comedy.
Look at his birthday, by the way.
What is it?
October 18th.
He's born on the same day. We have the same birthday. 13 years apart.
Well, thank God.
Yeah,
you're a muscular, handsome Assyrian beast.
Very different, buddy.
Surrounded by muscular beasts too, but anyway.
My man. Yeah. So the contradictions of what a man gets versus what a woman gets.
Yeah.
If I'm a logical guy and I'm truly looking for a religion and I'm open-minded.
Yes.
And I'm looking to the Christian church. I'm going, studying Judaism. Maybe I can go that direction. I'm studying Scientology, LDS. Oh, and I'm also putting becoming a Muslim, right? 72 virgins. How can I buy into that if I got anything but a B or higher in math in high school? Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know if you got what I'm saying. So how does the math add up?
Yeah, what do you mean with Islam?
How many billions of Muslim men have died?
Yeah.
That means there is 72. Like the math. I'm running that.
Yeah.
So
It's a
help
lot
me.
of
but
virgins.
see-
This is a math question I'm
Brother,
asking.
you underestimate the greatness of Allah.
That's probably what it is.
The problem is Allah can meet the demand by just creating as many Qur'an as you need. See, this is why you're a kafir, brother. You don't have faith. Allah can do what
gotta
no
work on
eye.
that.
Didn't you remember what no eye has seen, brother? No heart has come. By the way, that's a plagiarism of Paul. He was quoting Paul because Muhammad took Paul's words. That statement comes from 1 Corinthians 2, verse 9. But Muhammad heard it and misapplied it, misappropriated it. So if you go to 1 Corinthians 2, you're going to see that the context is about what God has in store for believers who love him. It's 1 Corinthians 2:9. But Muhammad took it, adapted it, reinterpreted it. So ironically, Muhammad is quoting Paul, not Jesus here. Because if you go to 1 Corinthians 2, you read 9 all the way to 12, you'll see what the context is. It's in verse 9. What no eye has seen. Wow, sound familiar, brother?
Yeah.
What no ear has heard. What no human mind has conceived. The things that God has prepared for those who love him. Wow, I
Can you
heard
play that again, Rob?
Sounds familiar.
Can you play that again? Go ahead.
But mother, brother said, okay, brother, you be careful now.
And then they get 72 women, the men. What will the women get? And so as far as the first question, the second question, answer first and then come back to your first question. As far as the question is concerned, that if the men go to heaven, they'll get 72 hur, that beautiful woman. What will the woman get? The same question was asked to Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, who's the wife of the Prophet. So the wife of the Prophet replied that the woman will get that which your heart hasn't desired, what your eyes hasn't seen, what your ear hasn't heard about.
Weird. I've heard that
That means,
before.
inshallah, you'll get something equal. What your heart hasn't desired, what your eyes hasn't seen, what your ear hasn't heard. So, inshallah, if you go to
Pause it,
heaven.
Rob. Yeah, that's interesting. So what is that? How much of the selling point of becoming a Muslim is that? Is that a big part of it, or is that a small part of it? I mean, why would somebody who's agreeing, who is open, Muhammad Ali doesn't give me the vibes of being a guy that's not smart, right?
Yeah.
Malcolm X doesn't give me the vibes of a guy that's not smart. I mean, very intelligent.
Yeah.
Even Farrakhan, you see, what gets them to say, I'm converting, I'm going? A lot of people I know who have gone that direction. These are smart guys that I've had dinner with, I've had lunch with, I sit down with them, intelligent, good citizens, good families, good upbringing, good, even some of these guys are very good, net positive to society. What is the selling point?
You can be smart in one way and completely oblivious in another way, right? So when you say smart, in what sense? Business smart? Okay, but it does not equate to being theologically smart.
That's true.
So Muhammad Ali, if you really know why he converted, it was more because of the emphasis on black supremacy. He became a member of the Nation of Islam. Nation of Islam is just black supremacist mindset. So when you're oppressed and you have someone saying, hey, you're the original man and Allah's a black man and the white man's a devil, if you feel oppressed and inferior, that kind of gives you the false pretext that, no, you're special. And that's why you're being oppressed. So his conversion wasn't because he knew Islam. He knew black supremacy, black-centric Islam, which is contrary to the teaching of historic Islam. So when you say, why did he? Yeah, they're smart, but are they smart in religion? Have they studied their sources? Do they understand? Because you have brilliant Christians who are millionaires, but don't know a lick of the Bible. So I don't deny they're intelligent in one way, but it doesn't mean they understand their sources. Now, when you say, is this a selling point? This is one of the things they don't mention. This is why I was saying that within 5 years, when people study Islam and see the horrific, horrendous aspects of Islam, they're shocked. That's why they accuse us of lying immediately. When I say the Quran says it, you're lying. Doesn't say, because they're shocked. So I don't want to give the impression that the Muslims are the villains. They're not. And I'm not saying to be politically correct. Most Muslims have no idea what Islam teaches. They're just cultural Muslims. They'll go pray 5 times a day. And they just want to get along. It's those fanatical Muslims that are dangerous, and they're about 10%. They say statistically about 10%. that are fanatic. But 10% of 2 billion, that's still a large number, right? Most Muslims have no idea. Most Christians have no idea.
The number of radicals is actually close to 25%. So 25% of the Muslim population is radicalized and are Islamic terrorists. But again, 25% of 2 billion is a pretty high number.
No idea. Christianity, if I ask a Christian about the Old Testament wars, they're shocked to hear that too. In fact, if I recall, in the debate, didn't they bring up some of the Old Testament wars to try to scandalize the Christian debaters? Because even Christians don't know about, hey, kill everything that breathes. There's a context to that. I mean, Jesus forces us to try and understand the logic. I mean, even when I came to the faith, it was difficult. But then as I understood and I studied, I understand now. Right, but we can get into that. Point being, just like a Christian will be shocked to hear what's in his Bible if he's not properly trained, most Muslims are shocked to hear when I say, Hazrat Aisha. He said, Hazrat Aisha. Did you know she was 9 when Muhammad deflowered her? You're a liar. You're lying. Right? But wait, you're so. Then they say, well, it was.
I can't understand how no Muslim knows that. I mean, it's pretty common knowledge that she was 9.
Acceptable at that time, or no, these are lies, these are later traditions. So not every Muslim is on board because not every Muslim knows. But if you're convinced, now here's the problem. If you're convinced it's the truth, you're stuck with it. Okay, what option do I have? You see?
In one of the conversations with a woman, she's talking to you about being a Muslim, and then you tell the story about how he did something to his wife because she got fat and unattractive and left her.
Sauda bin Zama.
Yeah.
Boy, you really been watching me. You still like me, invite me?
Oh, yeah. I've been watching the last 2 days. I don't know how many hours of content of yours I've watched.
Yeah, according to, again, you have to go with the Islamic narrative, right? Some people say, well, that's just later tradition. Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, 128. If you want to open up, I'll give you the context. 4, 128. You're going to see the context here, yeah. Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, 128. Yeah, if he opens it up. Yeah, I don't know. I would recommend a browser, but I don't know which one. The one I have for the website.
This is in the Quran?
Yep, watch here, 120. Chapter 4, 128, not 1 to 28, sorry. 128. This is the context of the passage. I'm going to explain it here. Now, if you're not a Sunni, you can reject this. If you're a Quran-only Muslim, you can reject this because this is based on the hadith. Because if you want to know, okay, what was the context of these verses? They have what's called asbab al-nuzul, the occasional reason of revelation. So you got to go into the commentaries, you got to go into books, and it's, this verse was revealed because of this. But that's not in the Quran. So if someone wants to reject it, they'll say, well, it doesn't say so. He'd be right. But then I'd say, turn back, say, well, what's the context and how do you know? When was this composed? If he tells me, 6th century, I go, well, the Quran doesn't tell you 6th century. How did you get that? Oh, from the same sources I just quoted that you rejected. Interesting. So you'll go to them when need be, but when it disproves your point, no, it's now suspect. But these are the same sources that told you that this is revealed in Medina and at this year, because the Quran doesn't tell you. But nonetheless, if we read it, here's the thing. And if a woman fears from her husband contempt or desertion, there's no sin upon them if they make terms of settlement between them, and settlement is best. Now, what is that about? Well, if I go to the tradition, Muhammad had at one time 11 wives, even more than his God allowed for others. If you go to chapter 4, verse 3 of the Quran, you don't need to turn there.
I think one of the Iranians in the YouTube chat actually mentioned that earlier. I was reading the comments, and one of you mentioned that, Muhammad had 11 wives, more than the permissible amount. Yeah, that's a fact. He had 11 wives.
There. But 4 verse 3, it says you can have 2 or 3 or 4 wives if you can be fair. If not, have one. But then it says, and as many as your right hands possess. See, that part is not emphasized. So the Quran allows unlimited concubinage. That's why you'll hear stories when you have people who go to Saudi Arabia to be maids. They don't know they're signing up for sex. Jeez. That's part of the deal. Because in Islam...
Yeah, it's called, in Farsi anyway, we call it siqe. It's basically like, halal prostitution. And you can be a concubine. Also, they use that phrase, as many as the right hand possesses, to justify sex slaves as well. Yeah.
If you are a maid or a servant, the man has conjugal rights to sleep with you. You're signing up for that. That's in chapter 4, verse 3 of the Quran. It's there. I didn't write it. Don't get angry at me and put a hit on me or my friends. I didn't write it.
Quran 4:3.
Chapter 4, verse 3. If you want to show it to him, then we can come back here. You'll see.
A maid?
Yeah. Well, it's called your right hand possesses, meaning that which is under your control, whether a servant or a maid or anything here. And if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphans, then marry those that please you of other women, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you'll not be just, then marry one or those your right hands possess. Right hand possession means
This also like this phrase, this part of the Quran or the Hadith or whatever. It's also a good explanation. If you're wondering why a lot of Islamic terrorists will kidnap and rape non-Muslim women, is because they believe that they have permission to do so based on their religion. I mean, just think about the Yazidi genocide, right? And how those ISIS terrorists basically kidnapped 7,000 Yazidi women and girls and turned them all into sex slaves, right? And that comes from the whole, justification of what your right hand possesses. So, yeah, like a lot of this, like what he's talking about, can be traced to modern day Islamic terrorism.
means your concubines, you're free to have as many as you want. But if you want to marry, you can only have up to 4. But it doesn't tell you, okay, the 4 plus the slave girls or the maids. That's authentic Islam, Sunni and Shia tradition. There's no, because it's in the Quran, right? So that part seems to have, been glossed over. I guess many people didn't get the memo. So when you go ahead, brother.
I'm just curious how so many. I know you're not political, but how so many of these Ilhan Omar and all these women of Muslim faith, like they're my body, my choice, and everything. But then every single thing in the Quran is anti them. 72, like those 72 virgins, Sam. For every guy that goes and has all these virgins, like what type of life is it as a Muslim woman that you die and your eternity is up there having sex with all these guys? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it does one of 2 things. It makes them leave Islam, or remember, if you've been convinced that Allah is God and this is the only religion, well, hey, what choice do I have? You see, understand?
Yeah.
Okay, if I have been duped and beyond any reasonable doubt convinced this is true, I'm stuck. What do you want me to do, Vinny?
Yeah.
This is how Allah does what he wants. I'm just glad I'll be there. I won't be burning in the fire. See, this is why do I say you have to be careful demonizing all Muslims? Because many of them are victims of the system, right? And I don't know. I was going to say something, but anyway, they're victims of the system. But coming to the explanation, I'm going to explain 4:128. Now, remember, how many wives can the Muslim have? Up
2,
to 4.
3, or 4.
Yeah. So you can have 2, 3, 4.
Okay. If you could handle it and be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Muhammad had 11.
11.
When he died, he widowed 9. Now, what makes it more tragic and disgusting, this is why I cannot believe, if someone knows Jesus, he'd leave Jesus for Muhammad. That's why I say, if you want to really get people to never consider Muhammad, say, look what Muhammad did compared to Jesus. Jesus's beauty will show you how disgusting these teachings are, right? Focusing on, look at Christ, look at Muhammad. In fact, comparing Muhammad to Paul, the apostle, a glorious, holy servant of Christ. And all he was a servant. If you see his lifestyle and his purity, he makes Muhammad look filthy and by comparison. Just Paul, who's not our God in the flesh, but nonetheless, not only in 4:128, if you go back, did Muhammad treat one of his wives unjustly. Every single wife of Muhammad, after he died, could never remarry again. Yep. That's in the Quran. You cannot have his wives after him. So he left some of them widows. Aisha was 18, they say, and others in their 20s widows, and some of them lived to their 50s without ever being able to marry, have children. This is what he did to them. And you're telling me he's a mercy unto mankind? Seriously? And what does it tell you about a man who had 9 wives and couldn't get any of them pregnant? Right? They say that his first wife, Khadija bin Khuwailid, that was his first wife. She was 15 years his senior. She was actually his boss. He used to work for her. If we go with again, remember, we're going by the Islamic narrative. He used to work for her, and she was so impressed by his conduct, she proposed marriage, and he married her. According to Islamic tradition, she was a wealthy merchant woman because she had married 2 wealthy men, and they died, left their fortune. And he used to be a caravan trader for her. So she was his boss. According to the Sunni tradition, he married her when he was 25, she was 40. And so she supposedly mothered all his children. But every son he had died as a toddler. None of his sons lived even to adulthood. Now, he only stayed with her until she died. Now, I'm going to explain to you why this is significant. After that, he went crazy. He started just collecting wives. All his children, not only the sons, died as toddlers, but even his daughters, who got married later, died. The only child that outlived him was his daughter, Fatima, who then died 6 months later. She was married to Ali ibn Abu Talib, who's his first cousin. And hence you get the Shia and Sunni divide, because Muhammad's lineage is traced to his daughter Fatima, because she gave him 2 grandsons, Hassan and Hussein. This is where the Shia trace Ahlul Bayt. So this has significance with the Shia and the Sunni. They don't get along. Fatima, right? Ali, who's supposedly the rightful successor of Muhammad, he was robbed. She gave him his 2 grandsons because he had no boys. He had no successors. Hassan and Hussein. Ahlul Bayt, the family line of Muhammad, supposedly comes from that line. But with that said, supposedly he got Khadija pregnant when she was 40. Okay, we'll give him that. The other wives, he couldn't get any of them pregnant. But then he had a sex slave, Maria al-Qubtiyah, Mary the Copt, sent to him. He supposedly got her pregnant. She gave birth to his son, Ibrahim, and he died when he was 2. Okay, so maybe something happened. He got lucky with her. There's some questions whether that was really his son, but we don't get into that. My whole point is, of all these women, he only got 1 woman supposedly pregnant after Khadija, son who died. None of the other women who can get pregnant, not even Aisha, who married at 9, left them all childless and widows who could never remarry again. And he's a mercy unto women. Where's the mercy in leaving these women without a husband or children for the rest of their days? That's merciful. Women have needs, right? They want companionship. They want intimacy. They want children. And he left them with none of that. And you're telling me he's a mercy unto mankind. Now, to show you how cruel he is, that's where you're going to come 4:128. Now you're going to see the cruelty of Muhammad. Now you're going to see how this man is considered a mercy. And I have no idea. Man, if he's merciful, then you and me, Vinny,
we're in trouble.
My goodness. Now, it says, if a woman fears from her husband contempt or desertion, there is no sin upon them if they make terms of settlement between them. Now, the context is Sauda bin Zama. She was an older wife of Muhammad. Now, when he was married to Khadija, he never got married. When she died, it says that then he multiplied wives. The second wife was Aisha. My memory fails me if it was Salama, the first one, but nonetheless, he married her among the 11 wives. But he was no longer attracted to her. This is in the Muslim tradition. I didn't write this. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, they're writing this, so I don't want people to condemn me to hell. They can look at any commentary. And she feared that mom was going to divorce her. There's even a hadith in Bukhari that says she would go out to the call of nature, but because she was a huge fat lady, you wouldn't miss her. You know it's at her. Right? Hey, what are you doing? We can see you, right? So it describes a huge fat woman, fat lady. So she's a large woman and an older woman. She feared Muhammad is going to divorce her. So she made a deal with him. Keep me as your wife, but you don't have to visit me. Because part of the deal was he would have to visit these wives on successive days. But the Quran says it's up to him. He could choose not to. I'm not going to see you. I'm going to see you. The Quran says it's up to his discretion. That's chapter 33 of the Quran, verses 50 to 51.
Which wife you want to see and which wife you don't want to see.
Yeah, up to you.
So there's not a set schedule calendar you have to follow.
So that means you be thankful if he chooses to see you. Be grateful. So she comes to him and says, look, don't divorce me. Keep me as your wife. Now remember, each wife has to have her own house. And she cannot go out unless there's a need and with his permission. So can you manage? You're under house arrest pretty much? You can only go if it's a need or he gives you permission. So he has 11 wives, 11 homes. They have to stay home until he says, you can come out. Or if it's something really like, hey, I got to run to the toilet. Okay. This woman said, don't divorce me. Keep me as your wife. And the day assigned to me, you can give it to Aisha. So Aisha had 2 days.
The 9-year-old.
Yep. And he left this woman in a house all by herself the rest of her days. And the Quran says, good agreement. If you agree to it, no problem. So his God said, if that's the deal, go with. Now, why did she want to be his wife? See, this is again, because the Quran says that all of Muhammad's wives will be his wives in paradise. So she was hoping that if he didn't divorce her, she'd end up with him in paradise. See the mindset? Please don't divorce me. Let me die as your wife. So at least in paradise, I'll be your wife. And he left this woman alone in a house without, and having no children with her, all because he was not attracted to her. And she knew it. And she said, don't divorce me. Now, if Muhammad was merciful, you know what a merciful God and a prophet would say? What, are you crazy? I love you just as much as the first day I laid my eyes on. In fact, I love you more. What do you mean? No, you're my wife and I'm going to honor you. Oh, okay, good deal. Let's go for it. And it's sanctioned in the Quran. See what it says? If a woman fears from her husband contempt or desertion, there is no sin upon them if they make terms of settlement between them, and settlement is best. So if you agree to this, all right, good deal, go with it. But who wins in this deal? The men. The men are winning. The women are getting abused. I don't know how in the world this guy is a mercy unto mankind. And when people tell me respect my prophet, how can I respect such a man who has not only destroyed the people around him?
Sam, how much, when you walk in the streets, how often have Muslims approached you? What kind of threats are you getting when you're out there saying what you're saying?
Interestingly, TikTok and Instagram, the clips made me famous, not because I wanted to. So if I'm going places, I'll get recognized, but Muslims, even if they recognize me, will try to avoid me. Because remember, unless it's a fanatic who wants to kill me, they're not here to kill or go to jail, right? So if they even recognize me, they won't come up to me, right? Because again, this stereotype, not all Muslims are killers, not all Muslims are terrorists. So I haven't run into the wrong
10%.
Muslim.
Yeah.
I haven't run into them.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's more like 25%.
Yeah. No, that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
It's a very good thing. But
yeah, the number is closer to 25% based on counterterrorism experts.
by the way, in regards to us, Assyrians, the story about what happened with us, you're a good storyteller. You know how to break things down well.
I don't know if I can.
What happened to Assyrians? We used to have a country, the fall of Babel. What happened to us?
If you're asking me from a theological perspective, because Old Testament history, because it's not just prophecy, it's history. Well, we're told in the book of Nahum, if you're asking me now, just as a Christian, see the political landscape from the revelation God has given, because that's the only source I have, right? I mean, if we can conjecture all we want, your opinion is just as good as mine. But if I believe the Bible is God's word, and this is God's perspective, he's a reality. The Lord will often destroy nations who've reached a limit of sin of how much he tolerates. The Bible says there's like a debt ceiling. There's so much sin he tolerates, and then that's over for you. So we're told in the book of Nahum, this is the judgment of Nineveh. He says, because of the Assyrians being steeped, and it's not just Assyrians, see this thing, God does this with all the nations. You can just start reading from Isaiah chapter 10 on, all the way, you're going to see all the way to 19. God is talking about the judgment of all the nations, like, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Babylonians. Because why? God owns them all. This is where people must read the Old Testament. They go, oh, this book is Old Testament, and he's a God of Israel. If you read the Old Testament, God keeps saying, I'm the God of all nations. The reason why I'm working through Israel is to move them to worship me. This is the theme in the Old Testament. And point of fact, I want to ask you guys a question as I answer this one. When was the last time you were told that there's another group said to be God's people in the Old Testament besides Israel? Because you're told that Israel's the people of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
When is the last time someone told you that the very Old Testament says there's another group that is said to be the people of God? It's the very passage every Assyrian and his mother quotes that talks about Assyrian Egypt. In Isaiah 19, 23 to 25, specifically 25, it goes, Egypt, my people. Assyria, the work of my hands. Israel, my inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like a tribal God? He says, Egypt is my people. So when we read the Old Testament, sometimes we're misreading it due to particular theological dispositions or political points of view. The God of the Old Testament is quite clear. The response of Israel was to be his priest, to lead the nations to him. And do you know the one group of people that are the most attacked in the Old Testament? Are the Israelites. Now, what that tells me is this is a brutally honest record. Because if you're making up stories, you're going to sugarcoat things, right?
Are you talking about the Forgotten Nation of Prophecy by John Bucco?
No, I'm not talking about the book.
Okay.
He wrote a book. I'm talking about Isaiah 19.
I get that, but he talks about that in the book, right? So
he's trying to focus on a certain. I actually met him. I think he went to be with the Lord. Good man. I don't know if he's still around. I saw him years ago. But my point being, I'm not talking about future per se. God in the Old Testament talks about the nations and his love for them and his desire to save them. He doesn't talk about Israel. The role of Israel in the Old Testament, as I'm preparing to answer your question, because I want to give a context to the Old Testament, because if I just say, well, God says he's going to destroy Nineveh, oh, look at this Old Testament. No. God says to the Israelites, you see what I do to nations? I'm going to do worse to you if you don't toe the line. That's why I know this book is, look, if I'm making up a book, I'm going to make myself look as good as possible. The people that are the thorn in God's side, that God has the hardest time with, are the Israelites. So that tells me this is a brutally honest record that's not trying to sugarcoat and make one people superior. On the contrary, God keeps reminding them, don't you dare discriminate against the Gentiles. If a Gentile comes to live in your midst, treat him as a native Israelite. He's not less than you. And I can give you the receipts. So with that in the context, because what is God's heart for Assyria? He doesn't want Assyria to die. Isaiah 19:23-25 tells you, there'll be a highway between the land of Egypt and Assyria, and then they'll come. And then he goes, Assyria, the work of my hands. The book of Jonah is all about God wanting no nation to perish, not even the Assyrians, because he said to Jonah, give them 40 days, and the great city of Nineveh will be destroyed. But when they turned to national repentance, God turned back from his wrath. And then Jonah says something interesting. If you go to Jonah chapter 4, verses 1-3, if you open up specifically to you, look what he says. He goes, see, I knew this is the kind of God you are. And that's why I wanted to run, because I wanted you to destroy them, because I knew if they repented, you would forgive them, because that's the kind of God you are. You don't want anyone to perish. His hatred for the Assyrians was so great that he knew if he reached them and they turned, God would spare them, because God loves all people. And this is the God of the Old Testament. Because people always go to the New Testament. No, I'll show you from the Old Testament, it's the same God. So if you open up Jonah chapter 4, verse 1-3, you're going to see it. So this is the context in which I will put the book of Nahum. Jonah 4. Look at and Jonah knows it. Now, when I look at you handsome warriors, I can see why he wanted you guys wiped out. You are a thorn in the side of his people. But look what he says. Jonah 4, verses 1-3. You can open up just Jonah chapter 4. Yeah, that's it. You don't need to put chapter 4, I think. You just put Jonah and then 4. It's like, man, I can't keep up with this guy. It's not my fault you're not Assyrian, brother. Now watch your. But to Jonah, this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. Angry at what? He didn't destroy the Ninevites.
Yeah, he didn't kill him.
He didn't destroy all the Jelus, right? He prayed to the Lord. Isn't this what I said, Lord, when I was still at home? Meaning, isn't that what I reasoned myself, that if they turned, you would spare them? Now why? That is why I tried to forestall by fleeing to Tarshish. I knew that you are
This is getting like way too theological for me now. Let me see if there's anything else here. I think that's pretty much it with respect to the contradictions. Yeah, because then he speaks about Assyrians and the Bible, and Assyrians and Genko, which, I mean, if you guys are interested, you can go and finish watching the podcast. It's Patrick Bet David, episode 684. Sam Shamoun reveals Quran and Prophet Muhammad contradictions. So it's at the 1 hour 55 minute mark. So there you go, guys. Thanks for joining. I hope that I know some of you wanted me to speak about religion again. That's not my area of expertise, but I hope that this podcast was interesting. I certainly learned one or two new things, but pretty much reaffirmed what I know, especially when it comes to the connection um, with Islamic terrorism, right? And sort of the radical take and the radical aspect of it. So yeah, it was definitely interesting. It was more of a good reminder. I mean, I guess like a refresher for me, because as someone who has dealt with the Islamic Republic occupying Iran and Sharia law, yeah, like, we kind of know all this stuff anyway. We don't really talk about it, but yeah, we know all about it. So there you go. Thanks everyone for joining. Make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and share my video. Help me get the word out. And I will see you all tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern for my regular daily live stream where we talk about politics, Islamic terrorism, jihad, and the Middle East. Until then, have a great evening. And as always, Payande Iran, Javid Shah.